Lore Master, Lore Master, Lore Master, Lore Master.
Anduin Rin using the light to kill Anathrazim. The powers of the light allows practitioners to heal wounds, mend broken bones, dispel mind control, and even restore life to the dead. Priests can smite their enemies, shield from damage, levitate themselves off the ground, cure heals and magical curses, and remove beneficial magical effects from their enemies. Paladins can augment their own martial prowess and those of their allies with him, their blessings and auras, but also stun, debilitate, and silence their foes. They can use holy magic to shield themselves mentally from the whispers of the old gods and their minions. Although it takes energy and practice, especially through meditation, they can also help someone resist the whispers by channeling their holy powers through them in order to calm and protect their spirit. Power words are holy spells used by the priest to protect and strengthen allies. They have to say their names allowed to use them. Specific regions may be used or needed by priests and paladins to cast certain holy spells. Apotheosis in her stone. The light is used to empower its practitioners if they succeed in the trial of the Forge of Aeons. Members of the Army of the Light are empowered to become light forged, immortal protectors of the creation. After their training, the Knights of the Silver Hand are empowered by clerics and paladins during the ceremony of induction, immunizing them to disease of any kind before the Sunwell's rebirth. The Blood Knights empowered themselves by sapping energy from the captive Naru Maru after the Battle of Quel'Danis. They embrace the light through the Sunwell in a healthier way, following a sacred ritual of the light. A Death Charger can be redeemed as a charger and serves as a steed for paladins. Invigorating sermon in her stone. Through the light, its practitioners can feel a connection that is sometimes established between them, allowing them to know if they are still alive, to communicate words and thoughts, or to have visions concerning them through their dreams. It was the case between Darian Mograine and Fairbanks, between Zabrahex and Alexandros Mograine after the latter saved his life, and also between Ilaria Windrunner and her son Erator. They can also use holy magic to practice divination through an incantation described by books of priestly magic as a holy vision that can grant sight of distant objects and far-off locations. A paladin can also develop an empathic ability to sense deep emotions from others, such as sincerity or the nature of their intentions. The light can be used for interrogation purposes. Turalian marks the forehead of an orc prisoner with the light, leaving a burn on his flesh and forcing him to say everything he knew without being able to lie. Alexandros Mograine used the light on the jungle troll, and Zabrahex to know if he was lying. Revel Goss used the light on a worgen to force him to tell the truth and answer all his questions. The light can also be manifested in the forms of chains and handcuffs to hinder living and undead. When Anathrazim tried to assassinate him, Anduin used the light in the form of a web to capture the demon. During the hunt for Sylvanas, Windrunner, Turalian restrained prisoners with the light, while Ilaria used the void to invade their minds for information. The light is employed during an exorcism rite to extract a demon or an evil spirit from a possessed body, purifying the body and the soul from corruption. Light forged Warframe of the Grand Army of the Light. A holy magic is employed in the creation of holy water, paladin symbols, artifacts, runes, and light wells, but also to infuse weapons, armors, and librams with the power of the light. Holy energy can be focused into the shape of the weapon and used to attack an enemy. The mitigator's weapons appear to be kept ready sharp by the holy power contained within it. Prayer beads are crucial to many holy rites, including the rite of exorcism. Anduin enchanted his father's compass from imbuing it with the memory of a conversation between him and Sylvanas. The light is also a source of technological development on the alternate drain, or the High Arakoa used the light's power to create lasers and epics as guardians. The Army of Light uses and develops advanced light-based technology, including teleportation pylons, warframe, artillery, battery, and holograms. A Turalian used to place a message inside the light's heart following the retaking of Nomergon. Some gnomes were interested in the powers of the light to save and purify irradiated gnomes. Their research led them to radical advances in light-based technology with Arcanite and light magic. The light forged Draenei Rogue Zernar created a flashbang for his work. The light can be used to put the deceased to rest. Naru Adal sent Crusader Bridenbrad to the light itself, bounding the soul to the realm of the light away from the Shadowlands when Turalian blessed the corpse of the Anduin Lothar. His features were described as relaxed, slightly grown calm, even quietly content. The Auchenai, Draenei, our death priests, and the Tauren Seers can also use the light to contact the dead, to ask for help, to question them, or to help them rest in peace. The light magnified Turalian's voice so it carried to several hundred soldiers under his command and made Arthur's Menethil's hammer seem to weigh less in his hands. Practitioners, the light, yes, but we should let it guide us, not command us. We should also have our own minds and hearts. We should make use of those as well. Turalian to Anduin Rin. Rin, High King of the Lions. The light is an important part of several races, cultures on Azeroth, and many worlds across the Great Dark Beyond. Though overlaps exist in themes and practices, several of the races have differing viewpoints and methods of wielding the light. One thing is certain: wielding the light takes intense focus and a very powerful belief. Chapels, churches, cathedrals, and temples are places of worship where the devoted followers of the holy light can practice their faith and perform spiritual rituals. Priests, after spending much of their lives in temples, studying ancient doctrine, preaching the tenets of their faith, and pledging their full devotion to the divine powers they follow, the most of dead priests leave their houses of worship to serve on the battlefield as shepherds to flock. There they use their holy powers to bless allies and mend wounds, and while most stay behind in the front lines to aid their comrades, these holy champions are also capable of smiting foes and carrying out sacred justice. They're also morally opposed to the use of shadow and void magic. Rather, they are exemplars of the incredible grace and power of the divine and the light, and even death cannot fully stop their healing capabilities. However, some priests pride themselves on pragmatism. They understand that light casts a shadow, and that darkness is defined by light, and that true discipline stems from one's ability to balance these opposing powers and services of a greater cause. While these priests possess many holy virtues to aid their allies, they also dabble in the dark arts to debilitate their enemies, always exercising immense discipline to keep themselves away from the brink of insanity. Paladins, like priests who serve the light, paladins are devout in their faith, who serve as an instrument of the light, is to hold an unshakable faith. After spending much of their lives in hallowed halls studying divine doctrine, those who pledge themselves to a holy order become beacons of the light for their allies in conflict, taking up the heavy armor and weaponry of justice, stalwart and steadfast past. These protectors are ardent defenders of the light, and all that it touches and are rejuvenated by its radiance in return. So dedicated they are to their cause that they consecrate the very ground upon which they battle corruption, holding no unwavering belief that any battle waged to eradicate evil in the world is righteous. These paladins stand on the front lines in service to all others, dedicated to the cause of the truth and virtue. The light imbues those sacred knights with the power to revitalize their comrades if necessary. They even lay down their own lives to serve as a martyr for their greater good. Oftentimes the most dedicated paladins become fanatical in their devotion, instruments of retribution against those who dare defy the laws of the divine. These vengeful guardians of the weak or crusaders, judging and punishing the wicked, they are resolute in conviction in the divine order of all things, assures them that victory is inevitable, but they will fight to the end to ensure that the light prevails. Eriko, the skeptics, outcasts, or Eriko, who shun the teachings of the corrupted Anzu and embrace the light taught by the Naru Wada. Their leader Kurik, the awakened, and those like him found a great devotion in the light. They left skeptics and found refuge within Shattrath city. Most of these Eriko are affiliated with the lower city, warlords of Draenor. This section concerns contented related to warlords of Draenor. The high Eriko of the alternate timeline Draenor worship Rukmar on the Sons and learn ways to Tao the Tarn worship Anshi. Unlike the Tarn, the adherents of Rukmar are fanatically devoted to showing how the sun and the light favor them over all other races and are genocidal supremacists. The Eriko outcasts are incapable of using the light due to the corruption in their bodies, similar to how Draenei cannot well delay when they become broken. Draenei, prophet, villain, mercenaries, villain, the prophet of the Naru. The Draenei were introduced to the light by the Naru while sailing across the cosmos aboard Oshugun, fleeing from the burning legion that consumed their original home. Argus, the enigmatic holy beings, taught them the ways of the light, though they already had a certain experience with it through Velen and Tuur. The Naru explained that there were other forces in the cosmos that would stand against the burning legion, and that one day the Naru would forge them into a single unstoppable army of the light, a grand light-based coalition of all manner of the races, and one of the prophet Velen's ultimate goals. Deeply affected by the Naru's words, the Draenei vowed to honor the light and uphold the Naru's altruistic ideals. The Naru then blessed the Draenei with light-given knowledge and power, bestowing a blessing named the gift of the Naru upon them to signify their new connection to the light. Thus the prophet's sigil being visible at all times, and to this day the power of the light is embedded in the Draenei so deeply that all of them can call upon their gift, using its power to heal themselves and others. Unlike the humans and dwarves, whose knowledge of the light is related to the Church of the Holy Light, and the Blood Elves who channel their powers through the sun well, the Draenei have a more direct link to it through their relationship with the Naru. They serve the Holy Light of creation as vindicators or anchorites, the most common profession choice for the Draenei. The Draenei prophet Velen is also a staunch practitioner of the light, and the High Vindicator has a seat as an exarch. Light Forge Draenei, for example, infuse their bodies with the very essence of the Holy Light. The Draenei society has an explicit priesthood, such as the Nominai or the Eldor, an ancient order of Draenei priests and priestesses once led by Velen, calling themselves the Keepers of the Light, and in charge with the safeguarding of the Holy Draenei sites and altars. The Hand of Argus is also present in the society as an organization of Draenei Paladins and Vindicators that serves as the primary military and police force of the Exodar. The Light's chosen are an elite order of Draenei Paladins commanded by Prophet Velen. Notably, Draenei Light Welders include Prophet Velen, Vindicator Murad, Yrel, and High Priestess Ishana. Morath Orson, Queen of the Dark Iron Clan. Among the races of Azeroth, dwarves and humans seem to have the most in common in the worship of the Holy Light, with few, if any, notable differences in their approach by the fact that humans are the ones who introduce the dwarves to the Holy Light. While some Ironforged dwarves worship the Pantheon, many follow the Church of the Holy Light, while dwarves Paladins are also inducted into the Knights of the Silver Hand and can also be seen in the Argent Crusade. Just like the dwarves of Ironforge, a number of Dark Iron dwarves have adopted the values and the philosophy of the Holy Light. Their queen Morath Orisan joined the conclave with detailed Deep Anvil and other Dark Iron priests during the Fourth War. Many Dark Iron dwarves were present in the ranks of the Church of the Holy Light as priests in the ranks of the Silver Hand. Notably, Dwarven Light Welders include High Priest Rohan, Elgar High Forge, Morath Orisan, and Frida Iron Bellows. The gnomes have had an interest in the light since they joined the Alliance, but they were so focused on technology and later the retaking of Nomeragon that studying the light didn't even feel necessary to them. The Dwarven priests and Paladins of Ironforge served as the only connection to the light they needed. Now that the gnomes ever claimed a foothold in Nomeragon and begun rebuilding their culture outside of Ironforge, however, they've recognized the importance of having followers of the light in their own ranks. In addition, researching new methods of purifying radiated gnomes has led to radical advances in light-based technology. Notable gnome light welders, including Doc Cogspin and High Cleric Elphys, High Blood Elves, Lydrin, Hearthstone, Lady Lydrin, Matriarch of the Blood Knight Order. Before the Third War, despite the race's general seclusion in Quel'Thalas, many High Elves were priests in the Church of the Holy Light, and some were even part of the original Order of the Silver Hand. The High Elves also had their own priesthood chapters, although these were less prominent than their magical users. At the time, Vandalor was known as the High Priest of Quel'Thalas. Many of the light-welding elves suffered a massive loss of faith during and after the Scourge invasion of Quel'Thalas, in which 90% of their people were slaughtered and their kingdom was sacked, renaming themselves the Blood Elves, and many of them swore off the light, condemning it as a fickle thing that had faltered in the defense of their people during the undead onslaught. Some High Elven priests and Paladins survived the scourging of Quel'Thalas, or were not present during its destruction and endure in the Alliance. When Prince Kael'thas, Sunstrider, and his Blood Elves conquered Tempest Keep, they discovered a lone Naru who had stayed behind and maintained the Keep's defenses with some difficulty. Kael'thas subdued the Maru and sent it to Quel'Thalas so that the magic-addicted Blood Elves could feed upon it. After long months of study and experimentation, Magister Astalar Bloodsworn and his fellow wizards learned how to manipulate and corrupt the Naru's luminous energies. In the end, the sorcerers devised a process by which the powers of the light could be transferred to recipients who had not earned such abilities. Instead of feeding upon the Naru's magical Blood Elves, who had wielded the Naru's light-given powers themselves, Lady Lydrin, formerly a priestess who also renounced her vows, volunteered to be the first to bend the power stolen from Maru to her will. With her decision, the Order was born the Blood Knights. Most of the Blood Knights were once part of the Royal Guard, proud defenders of High Elven society, and saw their appropriation of the captive Naru's powers as well-deserved justice. Eventually, Mario was abducted and defeated by adventurers, and his heart was used by Velen to purify and restore the Sunwell as a fount of both holy and arcane energy. The Blood Knights embraced the renewed Sunwell, and though through it they ask for the light's blessings and to wield their holy powers, it is a harmonious relationship, no longer one of discord caused by attempting to bend the light to their will, although possible to steal the light from the Sunwell in the same way they did from Maru. Lady Liadrin has moved the Blood Knights away from that type of abuse. Notable Thalassian light wielders include Lady Liadrin, High Priest Vandalar, Lord Selenar, Budwrath, and Melar Dawnblade, Humans, Uther, the Lightbringer, First Paladin, Supreme Commander of the Order of the Silver Hand. In the early days of humanity and its civilization, many tribes of humans had primitive belief systems that incorporated simple nature magic. However, the rise of organized religions such as the Church of the Holy Light and the potent arcane magic introduced the Hyles quickly supplanted such traditions. Since this time, the Holy Light is a central part of civilized human society. It is the primary human religion and a staple of worship, respect, and honor in the Seven Kingdoms. In the Alliance, human paladins are members of the Order of the Silver Hand, seeking to do justice across Azeroth, while other humans join the Argent Crusade. The humans were the first race on Azeroth to utilize the light in an offensive manner through the creation of paladins, employing them against the old Horde forces, and then the scourge. These paladins must abide by a strict code of moral conduct and face the gradual loss of their power should they knowingly commit acts of evil. In the kingdom of Gilneas, the Lightstone Cathedral is located in the center of Gilneas City, where the Gilnean priests of the clergy are present and officiate. However, due to its relative isolation, the countryside of Gilneas has retained a degree of their ancient culture. In the contemporary era, the religious leaders of what was in Gilneas, referred to as the Old Ways, eventually became harvest witches, those who used their nature powers to augment Gilneas' agricultural output during and following its period of industrialization. In the Admiralty of Kel'Teras, the inhabitants of Dressfar also worshipped the light. During the invasion of Durotar, the Kel'Teras Navy deployed light-wielding chaplains and elites under the guidance of a superior officer. At least 2 members of the Order of Embers also wielded light in some cruel turns and can be found among the purified that defend Dressfar during the faction assaults. Humans also founded the Scarlet Crusade, a branch of errant paladins and priests, among others, driven zealous in their war against the undead. Unlike the Silverhand's emphasis on retribution through clarity and righteousness over vengeance, the Crusade is vicious, brutal, and indiscriminate in its cause. If one does not stand with the Scarlet Crusade, one is seen as a heretic. In spite of their attitude, the Scarlet Crusade generally believes that they are doing righteous work and thus have not lost their connection to light. Notably, human light wielders include Uther the Lightbringer, High Exarch Duralian, High Lord Turian, Forging, Alex, Andros, Mograine, Marthus Menethil, and Anduin Rim. Notable Organ light wielders include Sister Almira and Sister Elsington. Orcs. The Orc and Meghar Orc priests follow the Lokesh, a path of healing and renewal introduced by Lokesh Naka, Tauren Sunwalker, chieftain of the Dawnchaser tribe. During a series of theological discussions, Tahu Sagewind and Apani Brightmane talked about the importance of balancing out the Night Elf and focus on moon worship through reverence of light as part of their worship of the Earth Mother. As such, they rediscovered the use of the light through the power of Anshi, the sun god in Tauren mythology. Among the Tauren, High Mountain Tauren, the paladins known as the Sunwalkers are warriors who wield the power of Anshi, while the priests known as the Seers revere the wisdom of the Earth and Mother as illuminated by the light. In their faith, the light is associated to Anshi, which gives them their powers. It is important to note that they don't use solar magic since it is associated with ancient magic rather than holy magic. When they refer to light, they use the terms Anshi's light, the light of the sun, and the sun's light. Notable Tauren light dwellers include Apani Brightmane, Sunwalker, Tesco, Seer, Shine Totem, and Tahu Sagewind. The Zandalari Trolls in the Zandalari Empire. The Zandalari Prelates are Zandalari Trolls paladins, also known as prelates, who served the law of Kings Razan. They are the highest order of holy warriors to serve any law, taking only those gifted from birth with prowess in battle and gifted by the low and corrupt and champions of light to defend their empire. After Razan's death, the prelates were cut off from his power, except for a handful of his followers. However, even with the law of the kings gone, his ideals remained. The prelates chose to lead those who were lost, and through their faith for the law, to stand as a beacon of light against the darkness. They are now dedicated to the service of Queen Talanji, who succeeded the late king. Rastakan was of great help to the holy warriors, reminding them of who they are and what they stand for. Notable Zandalari light dwellers include High Prelate Rada and Ra'awani Kanai. Others, the Keeper Odin follows the light with his Valkyr shield, maidens being referred to as warriors of the light. Goblin priests use willpower to wield the light, driven by greed. Among the Pandaren, some give the impressions that the light is a foreign concept to Pandaren, notably in the case of Jojo Ironbrow. When the Tashui arrived in Stormwind, whoever some Pandaren used the light like the Alia Sage Whisper, who has found the light and is actually a champion of the Conclave, indicating that knowledge of the light is already well established among some of the Pandaren by the time of the adventurers' arrival in Pandaria. One possibility is that the term is not used in the Wandering Isle, Jojo's home, but is used on Pandaria. Night Elf paladins are very rare, with only a few being seen in the game. Delas Moonfang is a priestess who is learning the ways of a paladin, where her uncle Nerys Moonfang and Alan Blaze are ancients, fully trained paladins. The undead against their nature also have access to priests, and at least one undead paladin exists. The act of channeling the light is painful for the undead, but not impossible. The light-welling Forsaken are fairly rare and are somewhat antithetical to the prime Forsaken religion. The cult of Forgotten Shadow in the World of Warcraft, Mechacon, Mechagnomes, Jungle Trolls, Nightborn, and Volpera also have access to the priest class. Though where they stand in relation to the light is unclear. In the Wars of the Ancients trilogy, the Sundering Alexstrasza uses healing magic that is suspiciously similar to the light to Coriel Straz. It pays the aspect in a golden radiance, and its effects are described as calming to Malfurion, Storm, Rage, and Co. And eases their troubled minds. Croesus also conjures a golden energy shield to protect himself against Deathwing's magma breath in the same novel, which is not unlike spell. Holy Power Word Shield, organizations and worships Army of the Light, Vindicar, Empowered, the Vindicar, and the Great Dark Beyond. The Grand Army of the Light is an army of enlightened faces that the Naru said would bring one-day combat the ravages of the Burning Legion. After the fall of Argus, The Draenei's finest warriors followed the Prime Naru's era across the cosmos in an eternal war to bring about the Legion's end. The Draenei must committed to the long crusade would forgo a ritual to become light forged and fusing their bodies with the very essence of the holy light. For untold millennia, these immortal crusaders waged war against the demons throughout the twisting nether. After finally achieving victory on Argus, the light forged Draenei have undertaken a new mission, protecting Azeroth from rising threats and helping their kin from the alliance push back against the horde aggression. Lightbound are an army from alternate Draenor led by High Exarch Yrel in service of the Naru, compelled by the Light Mother, so that one day they would march across the great dark beyond and bring order to countless troubled worlds. They waged war against the unified orc clans known as the Maghar for the safety of Draenor and to convert them into the servitors of the light. They seem to be analogous or related to the main universe's army of the light, and the High Exarch's sermon also mentions the army of the light by name. Lightbearers. The Lightbearers were an order of beings from the planet Vanland Deskor. They were practitioners of the light like the paladins of Azeroth and were dedicated to service and duty. Church of the Holy Light, Cathedral of Light in Stormwind City. The Church of the Holy Light is the religious institution as the head of the predominant human religion. The worship of the Holy Light. Its clergy is renowned for spreading goodness as its priests heal and restore in times of peace and protect in times of war and are guiding the spiritual destiny of their people. They are devoted to the spiritual and express their unwavering faith by serving the people. Among them, the clerics in Northshire once claimed their mission was to achieve everlasting peace. They believed that the light shines on each and every being of Azeroth and Knights of the Silver Hand, the Order of the Silver Hand, or the Martial Branch of the Church of the Holy Light, and seek to be an example of the light's teachings as well as enforce its laws. Powerful holy knights, these crusaders are called to protect the weak, to bring justice to the unjust, and to vanquish evil from the darkest corners of the world. As the general ideology of the light is to strive to be good in all actions, the paladins respect its teachings depicted in the Tome of Divinity and the Tome of Valor. Blood Knights. The Blood Knights are an order of blood elven paladins formed in Quel'Thalas. Most of them were once members of the Royal Guard, proud defenders of high elven society, then priests of the Church of the Light. After the Third War, the destruction of Quel'Thalas led a great number of elves to lose their faith, believing that the light had failed them for a time. They separated the energy from the captive Naru Maru. With the Sunwell's rebirth, the Blood Knights have chosen to embrace it and to forge for themselves a new identity as they lead their people into a more promising future. Draenei's institutions, Draenei Faith, Aldor, Rise, and Shatracity. As the Draenei were introduced to the light by the Naru while sailing across the cosmos aboard Oshugun, their society is centered around the holy light of creation, blessed by the Naru, with light given knowledge and power, one of them being the gift of the Naru to signify their new connection to the light. The Draenei vow to honor the light and uphold the Naru's altruistic ideals. As a result, the Draenei have their own religious institutions, their own holy places of worship, and explicit priesthoods such as the Almanai or the Aldor, an ancient order of Draenei priests and priestesses once led by Velen, who call themselves the keepers of the light and in charge with the safeguarding of the Draenei holy sites and altars. Thus, the Draenei serve the light as vindicators or anchorites, the most common profession choices for the pious Draenei. The lights chosen are an elite order of Draenei paladins serving as personal agents to the prophet Velen in his quest to preserve the holy light. Hand of Argus. The Hand of Argus is an organization of Draenei paladins and vindicators that serve as the primary military and police force of the Exodar Draenei. Even if their numbers have yet to fully recover from the slaughter in Draenor at the hands of the bloodlusted orcs, they are considered the lead among the Draenei and were once dedicated themselves to protect their people from the Burning Legion hunters. Sunwalkers. The Sunwalkers are an order of Tauran paladins founded by the Alpane Brightmane. After theological discussions with Tahu Sage about the importance of balancing out the night elven focus on moon worship through reverence to light as part of their worship of the Earth Mother. As such, they are warriors who wield the power of Anshi, the sun in Tauran mythology, as they did in the past, although not as numerous as some of the more ancient paladin orders. The Sunwalkers' ways are no less powerful and their members are no less respected. Seers. The Seers are an order of Tauran priests who revere the wisdom of the Earth and Mother as illuminated by the light and exist under the leadership of the Sunwalkers. As such, they rediscovered the use of the light. The way the priest is a new one for the Tauran, but it draws on the ancient traditions of their seers, and they are not forging a new path so much as rediscovering old ways that we had forgotten in the RPG icon RPG. This section contains information from the Warcraft RPG, which is considered non-canon. Followers of the Holy Light do not worship any gods or beings. The power comes from some benevolent force known simply as the Light. Different cultures and organizations, reverence for the Light is collectively called the Faith of the Holy Light. Most humans, dwarves, and some high elves follow the path of the Holy Light. It is a faith that advocates purity, goodness, kindness, and compassion in the face of adversity. Those who belong to this faith are among the Burning Legion's greatest foes. Some organizations are heretics of the Holy Light. While they still follow the Holy Light, they have altered aspects of the philosophy, domains, healing, protection, war. Priests of the Holy Light who serve the Scarlet Crusade and gain access to the Crusader, healing, and war domains, but not protection. Church of the Holy Light, Church of the Holy Light, Pray Light, Church of the Holy Light in RPGs. No one knows that the church was founded, and then no one remembers when people first discovered the Holy Light or were discovered by it. In the time prior to the First War, humans began preaching about the Holy Light, explaining that it is a great and benevolent force that sought out mortal spirits interested in helping others and protecting life because the philosophy involves a significant amount of study and contemplation. They likely built libraries before churches as the organization grew. The place of teaching and study grew as well. Eventually, all the individual churches began working together and formed the Church of the Holy Light. The church sends people all over the world spreading the wisdom and comfort of the Holy Light. They also do what they can to help people with more practical matters, from building homes to settling family disputes to scaring off enemies. It is all very noble, of course, but that fits with the Holy Light's teachings of making the world a better place and making oneself better by helping other people. The church is everyone's best interest at heart, and the priests, paladins, and lay members do their best to help everyone. It is a religion that is all about making people truly happy, not to mention a religion whose practitioners show clear evidence of divine blessings. For a long time, the church was the dominant human religion. The followers of the Holy Light were everywhere, supporting civilizations, building cities, founding temples, and generally bringing light and hope and help to everyone. When the First War began, and there were the members of the church right in the thick of things, using their light, giving gifts to hold back the horde. It was impressive, awe-inspiring, really. Unfortunately, most of the priests focused on defending people rather than taking the fight to the horde. When there weren't enough priests to go around, leader of the Holy Order of Northshire clerics during the war was Archbishop Alonsus Fowl, and his apprentice was a devout lad named Uther. After the first war, Uther knew that the church needed to do more. When the orcs came again, its people needed to stand up and fight instead of just healing and defending. They needed to go after the darkness and actively prevent it from harming anyone. Rather than waiting for it to come to them, he should have called to all the bravest knights to join in and ordered the Knights of the Silver Hand, and thus the Paladins were born, and they saw their first battles in the Second War and were instrumental in the Alliance's victory. Notes and trivia. In the older games, the light was sometimes referred to as the spirit of humanity or the spirit of mankind. The clerics of Northshire Abbey used to call the light God. However, God has lost its uses since then. Chuzen is said to be the holy gift from the light and provides faithful companionship to any that would defend Azeroth from the maddening whispers of the old gods. Crafted by the Titans as gifts to their favorite creations, the celestial orb of souls channels the powers of the light to bring back to life those who have recently fallen. Ner'zhul realized that the Paladin or Turalian was not just a warrior but akin to a shaman, except that the forces he tapped were somehow on a grander scale than mere planets. In a vision of what would happen if it accepted Sargeras' offer, Velen saw light radiate from him, but it was not the golden holy light, it was a sickly green, which is tomb is sacred to followers of the light. According to Bishop Farthing, items crafted from the light forge iron strike with holy truth. According to Matthias Shaw, many of those present in the Cathedral of Light for the induction of Arthas Menethil into the Order of the Silver Hand noted that light itself seemed uncertain whether to bless the young prince. Jaina Proudmoore referred to Khadgar as a practitioner of the divine magic, implying the arcane magic rather than holy magic. The opposite of holy is often considered to be dark powers such as shadow magic with shadow priests, demonic magic known as fel with warlocks, and necromantic with necromancers. This good-evil concept is present both in the lore and occasionally game mechanics. Reanimated crusaders and Icecrown can cast a spell on a holy light, which, contrary to what the name implies, is actually shadow magic. The perspective of the practitioners of the holy light is closely linked to Agathism and its philosophy, where the end result is good even with the evil in between. It is also tied to holism, psychometrics on oneself, humanistic psychology, transcendentalism, and theological over-optimism. The philosophy shows characteristics of real-world philosophies and religion, such as transcendence, pantheism, and the Society of Friends. Quakerism, the light similarly exists in the Diablo universe. Librams are holy books used by paladins prior to the Second War. Lost and Alonce's Foul presented a set of enchanted librams to the first 5 Knights of the Silver Hand. These holy tomes are some of the church's most ancient relics, and each libram represented what Foul saw as the core trait of the Silver Hand: retribution, holiness, protection, justice, and compassion. Foul gave one libram to each of the paladins and challenged them to become living embodiments of what their holy tomes represented. Turalian held the libram of protection, Uther held the libram of justice, Tyrion Fordring held the libram of retribution, Sadan Deathrohan held the libram of holiness, Gavin Rad held the libram of compassion. In World of Warcraft, Devil's Libram, the Book of David Crockford, was recovered by Scholar Crusade after its owner was killed in the Battle of Darrowshire. The book was brought to the Town Hall of Hearthclan, where it was often read by crusaders eager to draw from Davil's strength. The book later made its way to the Mars Dead, whose former owner collected relics from the Battle of Darrowshire. The Libram of Ancient Kings is the lore book for paladin artifacts found in the Sanctum of Light. The Libram of the Dead is the lore book for death and artifacts found in Acheris. They even hold Libram of Constitution, Libram of Resilience, Libram of Rumination, Libram of Tenacity, Libram of Voracity, Libram of Focus, Libram of Protection, Libram of Rapidity, Libram of Vindication, the Jailer's Judgment spell. Alexander's Mograine had a libram, a passage from which reads, "My brothers, my sisters, join me now in battle, join me now in victory, and we shall ride forth with the lights embraced together." Librams were formerly paladin-specific relics that typically gave specific significant bonuses to single spells rather than general stat bonuses ranged weapon. For instance, they might reduce the cost of the spell of the Holy Bolt, Holy Light, or increase the damage done by the ability Paladin Divine Storm. The functionality was changed, and Cataclysm, like rings or trinkets, librams now gives damage with other stats appropriate to the spec they were designed for, often with sockets as well. They are no longer exclusive to paladins. Those with strength can also be used by the Death Knights, while those with intellect can be used by druids and shamans. Retribution, Libram of Fervor, Libram of Hope, Brutal Gladiators, Libram of Fortitude, Libram of Fierce Blows, Libram of Avengement, Librams of Saints Departed, Libram of Zeal, Libram of Racking, Furious Gladiators, Libram of Fortitude, Brutal Gladiators, Libram of Vengeance, Libram of Radiance, Libram of Righteous Power, Libram of Divine Judgment, Libram of Reciprocation, Libram of Discord, Libram of Retribution, Libram of Grace, Furious Gladiators, Libram of Justice, Brutal Gladiators, Libram of Justice, Vengeful Gladiators, Libram of Justice, Libram of Souls Redeemed, Blessed Book of Nagrand, Libram of Divinity, Libram of the Resolute, Libram of Tolerance, Libram of Renewal, Libram of Absolute Truth, Libram of the Lightbringer, Libram of Mending, Libram of Most Holy Deeds, Libram of Resurgence, Libram of the Eternal Rest, Libram of Truth, Libram of Repentance, Libram of the Sacred Shield, Libram of Obstruction, Film of the Lightbringer, Libram of Divine Purpose, Libram of Protection, Libram of the Eternal Power, Gladiators, Libram of Fortitude, Gladiators, Libram of Justice, Gladiators, Libram of Vengeance, Merciless Gladiators, Libram of Fortitude, Merciless Gladiators, Libram of Justice, Merciless Gladiators, Libram of Vengeance, Deadly Gladiators, Libram of Justice, and Deadly Gladiators, Libram of Fortitude. Libram of Light. The codices written by Mer Eldar, the other early human prophets, might have become the 5 librams given to the first Knights of the Silver Hand. The Tome of Divinity, the Tome of Valor, the Tome of Nobility, mentioned in old Paladin quests, might also be librams as well. Intellect increases spell power and is the most important stat for mana using classes wearing any armor type in the damage-dealing spellcaster or healer role. It is faith in ourselves that separates us from others, and with our powers we will cause great change in all of Azeroth. The weak will come to lean on you, the lepers will call you Lord, and the ignorant will look to you for guidance. Dark Cleric Du Weston. The priest is the master of healing and preservation, restoring his wounded allies, shielding them in battle, and even resurrecting his fallen comrades from death. Priests use powerful healing magic to fortify themselves and their allies. They also wield powerful offensive spells from a distance, but can be overwhelmed by enemies due to their physical frailty and minimal armor. Experienced priests carefully balance the use of their offensive powers when tasked with keeping their party alive. Faith is the greatest strength of a priest and their toughest shield. While they have a variety of protective and enhancement spells to bolster his allies, the priest can also wreak terrible vengeance on their enemies, using the grand powers of the Holy Light to smite and purge them, or the devastating powers of the Void to decimate their minds. They can utilize their holy powers to restore their health and that of their comrades by calling out mystic shielding and holy empowerment. Priests can prevent incoming damage and improve their defenses and those of their allies. Priestly shadow magic can deliver great amounts of immediate damage or racking pains that punish foes over long long periods of time. Their connection with the minds and spirits of living beings allows them to control and manipulate others. The priest is a diverse and powerful class, highly desirable in any group and capable of fulfilling multiple roles. Priest talents can strengthen their ability to heal the wounded and endanger their foes with the power of shadow or empower themselves and others with protective prayers. Disciplined priests use magic to shield allies from taking damage as well as heal their wounds. Holy priests are versatile healers who can reverse damage on individuals or groups and even heal from beyond the grave. Shadow priests use sinister shadow magic and terrifying void magic to eradicate enemies. Priests are devoted to the spiritual and express their unwavering faith by serving the people. For millennia, they have left behind the confines of their temples and the comfort of their shrines so they can support their allies in war-torn lands. In the midst of terrible conflict, no hero questions the value of the priestly orders. These masters of the healing arts keep their companions fighting far beyond their normal capacities with an array of restorative powers and blessings. The divine forces of the priest command can also be turned against foes, smiting them with holy fury, as light cannot exist without darkness and darkness without light. Some priests tap into shadow to better understand their own abilities as well as the abilities of those who threaten them. After the lands of LoreDay were corrupted by the undead scourge, the surviving clerics escaped to Stormwind and attempted to salvage their holy order, combining their forces with those of the clerics of Northshire. The weathered healers founded their new priesthood to guide their people in troubled times. Obsessed with the notion that evil lurks within every mortal creature, they set forth to purge men's souls of corruption and darkness. Using strong mind powers and potent fear effects, these new priests were able to reestablish a stronghold over humanity's spiritual destiny. Though they are still able to heal wounds and cure the sick, priests are much more interested in dominating the weak and wretched in order to save them from themselves. Priests guide the spiritual destiny of their people through their unique insight into the mind. They are able to shape an individual's beliefs, whether to inspire, terrify, soothe, or dominate, heal, or harm. Just as the heart can hold both darkness and light, priests wield powers of creation and devastation by channeling the potent forces underlying faith. Priests are well walking the line between shadow and light. Priests heal allies with powerful holy magic and sling sinister spells in tandem. While the Draenei were the first known physical race to be associated with the forces of the light, humans were the first to discover the holy light on Azeroth and were responsible for passing on their religion to other races, most notably the High Elves and Dwarves. Humans built many churches and cathedrals as places of worship and teaching of the light. The Church of the Holy Light teaches its followers to be virtuous in life, and while the religion is more philosophical than theistic, its practitioners to believe their devotion connects them to a greater and mysterious force in the universe. Humans have produced great priests who have healed their allies or have used the powers of the light to purge their enemies. The clerics of Northshire were human priests who served the kingdom of Stormwind during the First War. The clerics served as healers on the battlefield but were ill prepared for the hazards of combat and thus suffered heavy casualties. This order was largely destroyed in the Second War, saw fragile priests replaced on the battlefield by armored paladins. The Knights of the Silver Hand established by the church's leader, Archbishop Elancis Fowl, and his apprentice Uther the Lightbringer. Third War. This section contains the Reign of Chaos or its expansion of the Frozen Throne, main article for the priests. Despite the High Elves' official departure from the Alliance, some elves still remain true to their former human and dwarven allies. The altruistic priests of Quel'Thalas refused to abandon their roles as healers and agreed to remain in LoreDay despite the edicts from their reclusive masters in Silver Moon City. The High Elven priests used their light-given powers to heal the wounded and bolster the spirits of LoreDay, fighting elite, fallen priests or wretched priests who were once counted as the most devout amongst the clergy of LoreDay, but after years of constant war and suffering, they have lost their sense of the holy light. Now they exist only to spread their frustration and negativity to their fellow men and women. After the Third War, many Forsaken priests turned away from the light, then formed the cult of the Forgotten Shadow based on the teachings of Bishop Natalie Celine. Though they turned to dark energies to accomplish their goals, they believe they must be a balance between light and darkness, and members of the cult must know the light as well. Following the cataclysm, the Tauran society saw the appearance of priests led by Tahu Sagewind and known as the Seers, using the power of Anshi, the sun god, in their spells like the Tauran paladins named the Sunwalkers. This is similar to how Night Elven priests use the power of the moon through their goddess Elune instead of through the holy light. There have been Tauran Seers before, but their path has now either been enhanced with new magic or revitalized by new blood. The gnomes had an interest in the light since they joined the alliance, but they were so focused on technology and later the retaking of Omerugon that starting the light didn't feel necessary to them. The Dwarven priests and paladins of Ironforge served as the only connection to the light they had. Now that the gnomes have reclaimed a foothold in Omerugon and begun rebuilding their culture outside of Ironforge, however, they recognize the importance of having followers of the light in their own ranks. In addition, researching new methods of purifying radiated gnomes has led to radical advances in light-based technology. Gnome priests usually refer to themselves as doctors, medics, and surgeons. During the Third Invasion of the Burning Legion, the priests of Azeroth united against the Legion as the Conclave, led by Archbishop Elancis Fowl and the High Priest. In order to fight the demons, they obtained the legendary artifacts known as the Beacon of the Naru. The Xalatath, Blade of the Black Empire, Light's Wrath. They used also the Netherlight Temple as their headquarters. Priests bring a wide range of abilities to any party, depending on their spec. Priests may specialize in healing and protecting their allies or dealing powerful shadow damage to their enemies. However, priest capabilities extend far beyond these roles. Priests can buff their allies' stamina, ward against fear, restore mana to their party, and even dispel magical buffs and diseases from their allies. They can terrify, silence, and horrify enemies and remove some of their most powerful buffs and immunities. They can defer and aggro, grant substantial speed buffs to their allies, and even pull heedless and teammates out of the fire. Priests and any power manipulating others can allow them to see through the eyes of the distant target or even dominate an opponent's mind, turning a foe into a friend or sending them to their death at the bottom of a precipice. Healing. Priests have a range of healing abilities. Discipline and holy priests are natural masters of healing and protection and have additional capabilities in these areas with spells ranging from direct heals and heal over time effects to AoE abilities and non-damage procs. Ability priest atonement also allows discipline priests to heal by dealing damage, while shadow priests excel at wreaking havoc. They can still can contribute passive healing to their group through spell shadow on summon, building, vampiric embrace, as well as an array of healing options. Priests can choose to shield their allies from damage. This preemptive approach to damage prevention allows for rapid and life-saving intervention, but can require skills to correctly anticipate incoming damage. Spell Holy Power Word Shield is the priest signature shield, absorbing attacks and directed at the target and preventing pushback. Well, all priests are capable of shielding themselves and their allies. Disciplined priests are the masters of damage absorption, being able to shield multiple allies at the same time with the spell Holy Rapture. Disciplined priests can also protect their allies with spell Holy Word Power Barrier. Each spec also has a powerful damage reduction cooldown from the direct avoidance of spell Holy Pain Suppression and spell Shadow Dispersion, and the self-sacrificing grace of spell Holy Guardian Spirit. Priests have access to 2 schools of magic, Holy and Shadow, and can deal substantial amounts of damage from either. Priests have a number of direct damage options as well as a few dodge and specialties. Shadow priests are without doubt the most damage oriented of priests, but disciplined priests with ability priest atonement come a respectable second. Even healing priests can contribute some damage by summoning their temporary pet, the spell Shadow Fiend Mindbender, to attack enemies' utility, as well as their obvious capabilities in healing and dealing damage. Priests also have access to a range of utility spells, many of which are unique to priest classes. Abilities such as spell Holy Lay on Hands, Levitate spell, Mind Vision, and Mind Control can all make the priest class fun to play, but are also capable of providing game-changing advantages if used correctly. Priests can also avoid aggro with spell magic, lesser invisibility, and fade. Can also do the leap of faith to pull other players to the priest and possibly save them from death. Dispels. Priests are significantly capable dispellers. They can strip magical buffs and even immunities from their enemies with spell nature, spell magic, and spell arcane. Mass dispel well. Disciplined and holy priests can also spell holy to purify their allies of magic and purify their allies of magic and disease effects. Disciplined and holy priests can generally consider dispelling to be their most important duty after healing, while shadow priests are also capable of contributing if necessary. Ground control and mobility. Priests have a range of abilities to aid in escaping and incapacitating their attackers. Spell holy, symbol of hope, body and soul, and ability. Priest angelic feather. Angelic feather provides speed boost for the priest or their allies, while spell shadow psychic screen provides excellent fear effects. Meanwhile, shadow priest spell shadow dispersion can be used to slip out of roots and snares. Shadow priests have the most crowd control abilities, with ability priest silence, and spell shadow mind flay providing 50% snare. Priests can also offer sustainable crowd control on undead targets with spell nature slow, shackle, and dead, while holy priests can disorient and interrupt opponents with spell holy chastise, holy word chastise. Priests can also take control of other players or creatures temporarily by using spell shadow word dominate and mind control. Stats, weapons, and armor. The most important stats for a priest are depending on specialization, intellect, haste, mastery, and stamina. The priest can wield staffs, one-handed maces, wands, and daggers. The priest can only wear cloth armor. For details on set items that are useful for priests, see priest sets. These are the holy priest specializations: discipline, holy, and shadow. Discipline and holy priests are powerful healers with a form specializing in healing through damage dealing with a sideline and damage mitigation, and the latter excelling in sheer healing power as well as a versatile range of healing options. Shadow priests are ranged to BS that assault their opponents' minds with shadowy magic, specializing in sinister damage over time effects and crowd control. While all priests can use spell nature, nullify disease, dispel magic, and the potent spell arcane, master spell. Discipline and holy priests are especially capable dispellers with spell holy, dispel magic, purify, allowing them to instantly cleanse an ally of diseases and magical afflictions. Discipline spell holy word shield, using magic to shield allies for taking damage as well as heal their wounds. Disciplined priests are a powerful force on the battlefield, balancing the powers of light and shadow to withstand enemies and assist allies in equal measure. Well capable of reactive healing, disciplined priests truly come into their own when able to proactively bless their allies with ability. Priest atonement via spell priest power word radiant, spell shadow mend, or spell holy power word shield, and in anticipation of incoming damage with their allies touched by the light. The well-prepared disciplined priest is free to visit the invisible staff light's wrath on their unfortunate enemies, using spells such as spell holy smite, and spell holy penance to simultaneously damage foes and unleash powerful burst healing. The combination of strong cooldowns and a focus on preemptive healing makes disciplined priests the preferred healing option for PvP. The spell Holy Word Power Word Shield can be improved in multiple ways, becoming an efficient and powerful protection option, and Discipline's ability to damage and heal on the move is a powerful asset. Discipline priests anticipating incoming damage and stack protection with spell holy pain suppression, allowing them to protect their allies even when incapacitated, and their ability to utilize 2 different schools of healing magic sets them apart from other healers by allowing them to retain some casting abilities even when interrupted. Some priests pride themselves on pragmatism. They understand that light casts a shadow, that darkness is defined by light, and that true discipline stems from one's ability to balance these opposing powers and services of a greater cause. While these priests possess many holy virtues to aid their allies, they also dabble in the dark arts to debilitate their enemies, always exercising immense discipline to keep themselves away from the brink of insanity. Many would say the ends justify the means. Scriptures, both virtuous and vile, should be studied and understood to protect the congregation. Holy guardian spirit, versatile healer who can reverse damage on individuals or groups and even heal from beyond the grave. Holy priests are versatile healers who possess a variety of tools to support their group. In contrast to discipline, the holy specialization focuses primarily on reactive healing. Holy priests supplement their powerful direct healing with heal over time effects such as holy spell renew, and their mastery holy aspiration, mastery echo of light, which attaches a powerful heal over time effect to their priest's initial heal. They also have access to impressive group effect healing such as spell holy prayer of mending, a preemptive healing spell that bounces between allies. Holy priests also have access to several powerful abilities with long cooldowns, including the holy word ability, spell holy divine providence, holy word sanctify, a powerful ground targeted heal, spell holy pursuit of justice, holy word serenity, a truly massive single target heal, and a spell holy chastise, holy word chastise, a single target nuke and crowd control spell. Even death itself proves to be no match for the healing prowess of the light, allowing holy priests to save an ally from certain demise by invoking a spell holy guardian spirit to protect them or even heal from beyond the grave. In the essence of spirit of redemption for a time, after spending much of their lives in temples studying ancient doctrine, preaching the tenets of their faith and pledging their full devotion to the divine powers they follow, the most adept priests leave their houses of worship to serve on the battlefield to shepherd the flock. There they use their holy powers to bless allies and mend wounds, and while most stay behind in the front lines to aid their comrades, these holy champions are also capable of smiting foes, carrying out sacred justice. They're also morally opposed to the use of shadow and void magic. Rather, they are exemplars of the incredible grace and power of the divine and the light, and even death cannot fully stop their healing capabilities. Shadow, word, pain, and using sinister shadow magic and terrifying void magic to eradicate enemies. Shadow priests are born damage dealers, instantly recognizable by their signature spell shadow form, a distinctive aura that increases shadow damage. They tend to focus on afflicting multiple targets with potent damage over time effects such as spell shadow word pain and spell holy stoicism vampire touch, as well as unleashing psychic agony on a single target with their spell shadow mind blast and shadow mind flay. and spell mind seer spells draw on their dark powers causes Shadow Priest to accumulate insanity, and this in turn fuels potent spells such as the spell Shadow Devouring Plague, a grim mockery of the priest's ability to dispel holy and purify disease. The height of a Shadow Priest's power is heralded by a massive spell Priest Void Blast, Void Eruption that twists their spell Shadow form into spell Priest Void form, which further increases their spell damage, grants Mind Bless. Additional charges enables the use of the powerful ability Iron Maiden's Convulsive Shadows Void Bolt spell. Shadow Priest can even call down beings from the void itself, conjuring a spell Shadow Fiend or spell Shadow Soul, leech Mind Bender to assail their enemies. Shadow Priest also excel at crowd control, capable of using a spell Shadow Psychic Scream to fear enemies, weaponizing the minds of their enemies with a spell Shadow Mind Bomb to stun them or silencing and interrupting casters with the aptly named ability Priest Silence. In the hands of a skilled Shadow Priest, his abilities can be utilized to provide windows of opportunity that can prove fatal to even the most battle-hardened healer. Shadow Priests also have a powerful survival ability in spell Shadow Dispersion, and can convert their damage into healing for their allies through spell Shadow's Vampiric Embrace. A large percentage of a Shadow Priest damage comes from damage over time effects, allowing them to deal damage simultaneously to multiple targets and to continue dealing damage even while the priest is incapacitated or hidden out of the line of sight. This tactic, known as multi-darting, allows them to excel at fights while dedicated damage to this when need be. Shadow Priests are also decent emergency healers, and that into Shadow Priest can potentially turn a disastrous wipe into an unexpected victory with a well-placed Shadow spell Shadow Mend and a spell Power Word Shield. The light in which many priests bathe is brilliant and effervescent, granting them immense divine power, but the brightest light casts the darkest shadow, and from within this blackness a rival power dwells. Shadow Priests fully embrace this opposing polarity, their faith equally resolute as their holy counterparts, but focused on shadowy magic and mental manipulation. Like all priests, they dedicate much of their lives to worship, but they derive their power from the void, straying dangerously close to the domain of the old gods, and truly understand such ancient, corruptive influences to be driven mad. This is the state in which these dark priests thrive, embracing insanity and feeding off the minds of their opponents to reach terrifying new limits. Dwarven Priest by Samwise, Priest Prestige class in Warcraft, the role-playing game art leader used. And the Warcraft Priest Cult class. Priests practice a complex, organized form of spirituality built around moral philosophy, the worship of a particular deity such as Lu, in some cases, and our idol worship. Rather than around the reverence of the elements that shamans practice, the close divine connection with animals in the wilderness that druids maintain. Priests serve not only as influential religious figures in their respective societies, but also as powerful practitioners of divine magic, what they use to heal and protect or harm and weaken. Devotion to the face of Azeroth leads many priests to the path of courage and heroism. In dark times, priests carry the light of faith with them as a reminder of the powerful forces at work beyond the comprehension of the peoples who walk the land. Powerful healers with an intimate connection to the divine. Priests are empowered with abilities that aid them in times of dire need. Priests comprise quite a varied group in Azeroth. A female priest is called a priestess. Many are followers in some manner of the holy lights, and priests choose to be pyromasters or high priests. There are also racial restrictions to some titles, such as witch doctors for trolls and priestess of the moon for night elf females. There are also shadow priests among them. Trolls they find forsaken to be kindred spirits supporting them because they are evil. They are also shadow priests that follow Kil'jaeden. Epic priest. The epic priest is a paragon of his ideals, a vessel which his faith pools and spreads like wine overflowing with a chalice. He bolsters his allies to amazing heights and brings non-believers low with divine wrath. Where he walks, all feel his presence. He focuses on increasing his spellcasting potential. He knows that metamagic feats can make even low-level spells potent. Wisdom is, of course, his paramount ability. If he must improve himself, he improves his constitution. Constitution improves his staying power, and charisma increases his turning ability. Priests of the light must abnegate themselves through meditation in order to become conduits for the light and use its powers. Know this, a shaman must never demand power. To do so would arouse the anger of the elements, and a shaman without the elements' protection is nothing. Those that follow the path of the shaman must never forget this most vital tenet. However, a shaman that works in a respectful union with the elements wields a power rivaled by few. T.O. Hammerstorm. Shamans, sometimes pluralized as shamans, are mortal mediators between the very elements themselves. The shaman is a hybrid class able to specialize in offensive spellcasting, melee damage dealing, or healing. As such, the class is considered highly adaptable and versatile. Shamans are formidable opponents able to respond to any situation with a range of unique abilities, often spiritual guides of their communities. These powerful practitioners commune with the ancestors and seek to balance the raging elemental forces. Shaman become deadly warriors, unstoppable spellcasters, and quick-witted healers by working respectfully with the elements. During combat, shaman place damaging and controlling totems on the ground to maximize their effectiveness while hindering their enemies. They are versatile enough to battle foes up close or at range, but why shaman choose their avenue of attack based on their enemies' strengths and weaknesses. By calling on their spiritual power, shaman can restore health to injured allies. They enhance their weapons with elemental effects, empowering their blows with the power of fire, wind, or ice. The elemental force of the shaman can be used to damage enemies from afar with lightning strikes, earthquakes, and lava bursts. They can choose to deploy a wide array of different totems, each with unique effects from improved restoration to greater damage and enhanced crowd control and more. Shaman talents can strengthen their ability to heal the wounded and power their melee attacks with natural force or call upon blistering elemental spells. Elemental shaman are spellcasters who harness the destructive forces of nature and the elements. Enhancement shaman are totemic warriors who strike foes with weapons imbued with elemental power. Restoration shaman are healers who call upon ancestral spirits and the cleansing power of water to mend allies' wounds. For millennia, since the primitive tribal cultures of Azeroth and Draenor, the natural elements of the physical universe have been celebrated, feared, and even worshipped. Mystics sought communion with the earth, air, fire, and water, and learned to tap into their raw power. In time, these spiritual gods came to understand that nature's elemental forces aren't wholly benevolent, but have in fact been locked in an unending conflict of chaos and primal fury that once consumed the physical realm. So began the calling of the shaman to bring balance to these volatile energies, leveraging their intensity to mend wounds or inflict them. Shaman are spiritual guides and practitioners, not of the divine, but of the very elements. And unlike some other mystics, shaman commune with forces that are not strictly benevolent. The elements are chaotic and left to their own devices. They rage against one another in unending primal fury. It is the call of the shaman to bring balance to this chaos, acting as moderators among earth, fire, water, and air. Shamans summon totems that focus the elements to support the shaman's allies or punish those who threaten them. These masters of the elements can also call upon elemental forces directly, unleashing torrents of lava and bolts of lightning against foes. The elements can create The elements can create, destroy, support, and hinder the experience. Shaman balances the vast spectrum of these primordial forces into an array of diverse abilities, making shaman versatile heroes and valued members of any group. Shaman commune directly with the elements. Their combination of wisdom and resilience makes them ideal as tribal advisors and leaders. In battle, the shaman uses totems and spells to manipulate the elements and provoke other fighters to untold heights of rage and might. Shamans exemplify the primal bond between the savage races and their environment. Shaman use the power of the elements to enhance their weapon damage or spells. Shaman summon totems in combat, small objects that disable enemies, heal or cause damage to enemies. Limited to the horde, shamans commune with the chaotic elements, harnessing primal fury to enhance weapons and power totems and augment their own ability. Shamanism has existed since the sapient races first discovered the power of the elements of earth, air, fire, and water. On Draenor now, shattered outland, the orcs were shamanistic. On Azeroth, Tarn were shamanistic. Well, the trolls had a history of shamanic worship of the lower spirits before being accustomed to the divine holy light of the potency of their arcane. The human had primitive belief systems that incorporated simple nature magic, producing crude forms of druidism and shamanism. 230 years prior to the opening of the Dark Portal, the Earthen Ring was founded by Tarn to lead their people with wisdom and maintain their harmony between the elemental spirits. Though shamanism on Azeroth flourished and still continues to, shamanism on Draenor was all but extinct by the time of the great crossing of the Horde into Azeroth via the Dark Portal. The greatest and yet some of the most vilified orcs were once shamans, such as Zulahed, the Whacked, and Ner'zhul. However, killed Jaden Keeper of the Burning Legion, distorted the shaman's connection with their spirits in the sacred mountain of Oshugan, himself taking on the form of the shaman's ancestor to convince the shaman who held much political sway in the Orcish culture that the Draenei were the enemy. The ensuing massacres upon several Draenei hunting parties offended the spirits, who eventually denied the shaman their powers. Prior to this, the orcs could easily overpower wandering Draenei groups, but the nascent horde was now vulnerable to their mages and paladins. All was set for the transition. Cut off from their elemental powers, the shaman were offered to turn to the more efficient and matchful powers of the Burning Legion, becoming warlocks. Most of the shaman eagerly accepted, even wise and honorable orcs such as Drekthar. As the orcs in Draenor got gradually more corrupt, to kill Jaden and Gul'dan had a barrier put around Oshugan, which prevented the ancestral spirits of Kohur from making contact with the outside world. Orcs were also forbidden on Black Hand's orders to ever return to the mountain, to make sure none could realize the deceptionists effectively outlawed shamanism and its practices.
Years later, after the destruction in Draenor and its transformation into Outland, the elements slowly recovered from the turmoil and uncertainty of being ravaged along with the land when the portals were open. For some time, they were lost, confused, and neglected, very much like they sensed a kindred spirit in a certain broken Draenei named Nabandu was hopeful that he would be receptive to contact with them. They didn't. So once they recovered sufficiently enough to reach out once again and found that he was in an experience that was probably not too dissimilar to the first ancient shaman of other races, the elements themselves taught Nabandu the delicate balance of nature and the powers and truths of the five elements. Spending years primarily as a student of the elements, Nabandu would become a teacher himself, seeking out his first students among his own people at Tel Redor in Zangarmarsh, and opened a new path for the Draenei. Third War, shamanism in the orcs remained all but extinct until Thrall, the son of the deceased Urtan, a future chieftain of the Frostwolf clan, grabbed hold of the reins of the war chief of the new horde, ushering in a new generation of shamanism, breaking the crippling lethargy of the captive orcs and outlawing the dark magic of the Burning Legion. At the time of the internment camps, a shaman was a derogatory term for someone who told fantastical and unbelievable stories. Shamanism is now at its peak, though as the new horde itself became led by a shaman, a great power in the new orcish nation of Durotar, Burning Crusade. Unbroken Farseer Nabandu, first of the Draenei shaman. At the time of the invasion of Outland, a few Draenei have started to follow the path of the shaman under the guidance of Farseer Nabandu, although for some Draenei, the shamanistic teachings of the Broken were considered as heretical and blasphemy against the light. Draenei and Broken Shaman later integrated the ranks of the Earthen Ring with the main goal to heal Outland Legion. During the third invasion of the Burning Legion, the Earthen Ring shaman helped new elementals to replace Ragnaros in the Firelands and Elakir in Skywall, Smolderin, and Thunderan, respectively. They then managed to convince the four elemental lords to band together against the Burning Legion. During the conflict, shaman and elementals worked actively from the heart of Azeroth to fight the demons off the Broken Isles. Zakan elemental spell, a jungle troll calling upon the powers of the elements. Shamanism is a deeply spiritual form of elemental magic that involves a connection with both the natural and the elemental spirit. Shamans do not normally enslave elementals, but honor them, asking the elements to heed their call. Consequently, the power of the shaman is borrowed rather than taken. Shaman are not inherently imbued with magic. They harness the powers of the elements through ceremonial totems. There is a relation to the spiritual magic of shaman and the natural magic of druids, which is why the shaman were able to hear the spirits of Stone Talon Mountains. Shaman said that all things had a life, a power, a spirit. They are deeply involved with the spirits of the elements, earth, air, fire, water, and the spirits of the wilds, and claimed they could sense the life force in earth and even seemingly dead stone. The spirit energy is what gave the shaman their connection to the elements, to others, and to themselves. And members of the Earthen Ring save the spirit for apprentice studies until they are ready. During a conversation, Drekthar explained to his apprentice Thrall that shaman have a bond with the things of the natural world, thus they strive always to work in harmony with them, with respect to their heart and in the willingness to offer something in return. Unlike warlocks who use the fel through their spells, the shaman call for the powers of the elements and work with those who respond, knowing they are borrowed, only never bought. This is never primary agreement, and if they violated nothing of nature would ever respond to them again. They request only the barest needs for themselves and their people, and at times they may ask great things, but only when the cause is good and just. In the end, the elements are powerful entities who come of their own free will and who are companions in their magic, not slaves. Farseers are exceptionally powerful and wise shaman that play the role of advisors or take on leadership positions in their communities. They are highly esteemed and respected by their factions. Unlike the others, Goblin Shaman follow the motto of controlling the elements for fun and profit. They are an extension of their society's single-minded devotion to making profit to a Goblin Shaman. Elementals are potential customers with whom they can negotiate and enter contracts. They tend to be a bit more forceful in their negotiations than the other shamanic races would like, though not as forceful as the Tonka. Some Goblin Shaman mechanically modify both their totems and their elemental minions to shaman of other races. These methods can seem unorthodox or outrageously disrespectful to the elements. The Dark Shaman is a dark version of a shaman, forcing the elements into servitude by using decay, twisting them into burned out ash, corrupted waters, and toxic air. They also use the void to enslave the elements. Enhancement redirects here for items used to enhance equipment. See enhancements for there's a specialization, specific ability, shaman ability, spell nature, Lenny, elemental shaman, a spellcaster to harness the destructive forces of nature and the elements. Elemental shaman are powerful spellcasters fulfilling a caster DPS role to blast and scorch enemies from afar. They benefit from numerous improvements to their offensive spellcasting abilities, boasting reduced cooldowns and mana costs, and increased crit chance, range, and damage dealt for many other spells. Dedicated casters, elemental shaman play, and augmented with a number of mechanics, rewarding spellcasting, including spell frost, mana burn, elemental focus, and spell shaman lava surge. They also gain some unique abilities of their own, including the iconic spell shaman thunderstorm, a powerful knockback ability in Taurus for propelling enemies from high edges in PvP, and their spell nature, lightning overload, mastery, elemental overload. Elemental is the choice for shaman who want to play a ranged damage dealer and maximize their damage output with their spells. Spell shaman earthquake. Earthquake is another elemental ability which, while broadly similar to spell frost, ice storm, blizzard, and spell shadow, rain of fire, also has utility in being able to knock down foes caught in its area of effect, making it very versatile in both PvP and PvE settings when used right. Combining their spell nature, chain lightning, and spell shaman earthquake, and elemental shaman can do considerable AoE damage. And most important attribute for elemental is intellect, which increases spell power. The second most important statistic is haste, which increases their casting speed. Certain shamans have dedicated themselves above all else to forging a deep bond with the elements. They have peered beyond the elemental plane, gleaning visions of an ancient past where manifestations of volatile energies once raised now unimpeded across primordial Azra. Through careful study and dedication, the elemental shaman is able to channel such power into destructive magical surges through the body of the shaman. Flows bolts of lightning as if from storm and bursts of fire as if from molten earth to manipulate the land itself and summon spirits of earth, fire, and storm to their aid. To battle an elemental shaman is to taunt the very forces of nature.
Spell shaman improves storm strike enhancement, preview enhancement, a totemic warrior strikes foes with weapons imbued with elemental power. Enhancement shamans are melee damage dealers, smiting opponents with elementally empowered weapons. A unique melee spec that derives a large portion of its damage from spells. The playstyle of an enhancement shaman is very active and active, using the right abilities at the right time. Combined with spell shaman, maelstrom, weapon, proxies, it's a very engaging spec to play. Signature abilities of the spec include ability to dual wield, giving shaman the ability to dual wield one-handed weapons. Spell shaman unleash weapon wind fury, which gives a chance of each of your main hand attack to trigger extra attacks, and an ability storm strike, which allows the shaman to hit with both weapons at once for a large amount of damage. Enhancement shamans use maelstrom as their resource instead of mana. They passively generate maelstrom with each auto attack and can also actively generate it with the spell nature rock biter. They spend their maelstrom through their usage of ability shaman, lava lash, chain crash, lightning, and many other skills. Finally, spell shaman feral spirit allows enhancement shamans to summon a pair of immensely powerful spirit wolves, which add a fair amount to the shaman's DPS, while active as well as generating maelstrom for each time they attack, and providing some unique utility in breaking snares, sprinting, stunning, and taunting enemies. Intense communion with fire, earth, air, and water is an exclusive to the elemental shaman. In many ways, enhancement shaman similarly bond with nature and leverage its power on the battlefield. What distinguishes them in their training and in their connection with the elements is their combat methodology. These shaman favor empowering their physical attacks with elemental energies and facing their adversaries up close. They don't shy from the front line, dwelling magically augmented weapons, but potent elemental attacks and totems that shape the tide of the battle. Spell nature, magic immunity, restoration. A healer who calls upon ancestral spirits and the cleansing power of water to mend allies' wounds. Restoration shamans are versatile healers, well suited for any situation with numerous passive abilities, reducing the casting time and mana cost of healing spells while increasing their effectiveness. On top of that, they offer good utility like mana regeneration using spell frost, summon with a water elemental, mana tide, totem, and strong multi-target healing through spell nature, healing wave, chain heal, and spell nature, healing rain. Signatures abilities include spell nature, earth shield, a long-term buff that triggers a heal whenever the target is damaged, and the spell nature riptide, and then instant cast heal and healing over time. An important mechanic of the restoration shaman is the spell shaman tidal waves buff granted upon casting a spell. Nature riptide or spell nature healing wave, greater chain heal. This buff has initially 2 stacks. A single stack is consumed upon casting a spell nature healing wave. Lesser greater healing wave or spell nature healing wave. Healing surge, a spent charge makes a spell nature healing wave, greater healing wave much faster to cast or increases the crit chance of a spell nature healing surge. This makes the careful management of spell nature riptide, spell nature healing wave, greater chain heal, and the tidal waves and the healing wave spells essential for a good restoration shaman. Restoration shaman are highly effective in PvP and group PvE, and the only drawback being their rather low damage output, which can make solo play more difficult in return. A restoration shaman hardly ever dies while questing or soloing. Restoration shaman should focus on intellect, seeking to maximize their healing output while maintaining enough amount of regeneration to last the fight. Some shaman find a serene affinity for the restorative properties of water. These shaman do not necessarily seek the light or to turn to the divine, yet they feel a profound spiritual connection with the source from which all mortal life took root. So strong is their connection with water that the shaman is able to restore life and heal afflictions. They balance this with the command of the other elements, finding harmony in nature and purifying their eyes as the tidal surge washes across the sandy shore. Over time, Tauren shamans were originally a horde-exclusive class available to 3 races: Taurens, Orcs, and Trolls. The class was designed as the counterpart to the Alliance exclusive Paladin, and they shared many qualities such as strong focus on buffs, the ability to act as an off-tank, and useful healing spells. However, balancing the two classes against each other to prevent one faction from having a clear advantage became too difficult for developers, restricting the development of both classes. After the release of the Burning Crusade, the Alliance gained access to the Shaman class with the introduction of the Alien Draenei, while the Horde gained access to Paladins through the Blood Elves, with both factions now capable of fielding Shaman Paladins. Developers have been able to balance the Shaman against the other classes instead of trying to mirror Paladins. Later expansions have seen the Shaman class have become available in new races. In the past, Shaman were often considered as a jack of all trades, master of none. This was a result of their ability to perform many abilities outside the normal realm of skills for their primary specialization. It was also a result of the Cataclysm model for the Shamans, iconic totems in which many classes provide more powerful versions of a Shaman's totem bust. But no class provided the same amount of variety. In-game Shamans are capable of filling 3 roles: range DPS, melee DPS, and healing. These roles are represented by the elemental enhancement and restoration specializations. Originally, enhancement Shaman were designed to be viable off-tanks to counter the ability of protection Paladins. As the Horde gained access to Paladins with the Burning Crusade and with the addition of the Death Knight class and Wrath of the Lich King, the need for Shaman tanks was eliminated. The developers pushed the class towards being exclusively damage dealers or healers. Some enthusiasts maintaining the tanking simple encounters using enhancement Shaman. However, with the removal of the defense statistic, it became impossible for Shaman tanks to prevent critical strikes, effectively ending their history. High Shaman, Mole, Earth Fury, and his totems. Driving totems are unique to the Shaman and give them access to unique and powerful abilities once totem is put down and cannot be moved. So the Shaman must have the intended position in mind when using it. Only restoration has baseline access to totems. One example being ability Shaman, Healing Tide totem enhancement, and elemental need to spec into certain totem talents to have access to totems themselves, such as Spell Nature, Wrath of Air, totem mastery. For elemental enhancement or extra totems for restoration, such as Spell Nature, Stone Skin totem. All totem spells. Shaman spells include direct damage spells, heals, and weapon buffs, among others. Their spells are mostly based on the element. Shaman are also braced with Spell Nature, Astral Recall, a similar spell to the Hearthstone, but it can only be used when out of combat. Is on a separate, shorter cooldown. Finally, the combination of spell Shaman improve reincarnation and Spell Nature regenerate Ancestral Spirit make Shaman the only class able to begin wipe recovery without outside help. These abilities make the Shaman one of the most powerful support classes in the game. Shamans can wear cloth armor, leather armor, and mail armor, but they should seek to only wear mail armor. Shaman will often compete with hunters for armor since both classes use mail armor. All Shaman specifications can equip daggers, staves, fists, weapons, and shields, as well as one of the 2-handed axes and maces and wands. And the enhancement Shaman gained in the ability to duel. There are a number of endgame gear sets for Shamans which can be found in the Shaman sets page. A leatherworking profession is capable of crafting many pieces of mail armor that are attractive to both PvE and PvP focused Shamans. Enhancement Shamans should dual wield agility weapons. Elemental and restoration Shamans should equip an intellect and main hand weapon and a shield. Catcher Shaman may also equip non-shield offhand items, or if the stats are more beneficial, staves. Prior to Mists of Pandaria, Shaman equipped a totem in their relic slot in Liu of having a ranged weapon. However, with patch 55.0, the ranged weapon slot was removed and the relic items were phased out. Totems are a major part of the endgame, and knowing what totems will benefit the Shaman's group members best in different situations is all part of the strategy involved in playing a Shaman. All Shamans have access to powerful spells such as ability Shaman, Heroism, Spell Nature, Bloodlust, a powerful raid-wide cooldown that considerably increases everyone's haste for a long period of time, and such useful utilities such as the spell Shaman, Hex, and the Spell Nature, Purge. An elemental Shaman will be expected to maximize their damage output as a ranged DPS through careful management of their stats such as intellect and versatility, and usage of their offensive spells such as Spell Shaman Lava Burst. They are able to call upon Spell Fire Elemental Totem, Fire Elemental for extra damage, and also Spell Nature Earth Elemental Totem, Earth Elemental if the Shaman requires help taking an enemy mob. An enhancement Shaman will be expected to maximize their damage as a melee DPS by attacking stats such as Haste, Agility, and Critical Strike. They have access to elemental buffs such as Spell Fire, Flame Tongue to increase their damage output, and powerful abilities like Ability Storm Strike, devastate all enemies within melee range. A Restoration Shaman will be expected to maximize their healing, and much like an Elemental Shaman requires intellect and critical strike, they also have access to a vast array of totems to aid their healing, from the Healing Stream Totem to the powerful raid-wide healing of the ability Healing Tide Totem to the potentially raid-saving spell Shaman Spirit Link Totem. RPG, Battle Shaman, Spirit Walker, Spirit Champion. Shamans are spiritual visionaries of tribes and clans. This gifted warriors can see into the world of spirits and communicate with creatures invisible to wise and normal beings. They are beset by visions of the future and use their sight to guide their people through troubled times. Although the shaman may seem wise and serene at first glance, he's a formidable foe. When angered, his wrath is as fierce as those who have a connection to eternals or nature. Shaman have a natural magnetism. A knowledgeable shaman can hear the sound of all the world's tongues on the wind. According to Muradin Bronzebeard, the shaman show their allegiance to the elements with the decorative symbols on this, the Earth Shatterer armor, and it gives them the power to protect the isles even further. In Warcraft 2, the differences between shaman and warlock were not yet well established, as it was stated that shaman could manipulate the cold negative energies of the twisting nether. In the Council of Warcraft adventures, started to learn some of the dark magics of the Death Knights in order to become a shaman, referring to the older background about the ancestral religion of the orcs being necromantic instead of elemental. During the early beta days of the World of Warcraft, shaman could only wear bucklers instead of any shields. We are the preservers of balance now and forever, as Malfurion lies in the dream. We never forget this, Caleb Dolinar. The Druid, occasionally Druid asks for females as a shape-shifting hybrid class available with the Night Elf, Worgen, Tauren, including High Mountain Troll, including Zandalari and Zaltiran races. Druids are able to perform each of the 3 group roles, tanking, healing, and dealing damage by utilizing the shapeshift forms. While a Druid is most effective in the role determined by their active specialization and equipment, they can also use their shape shapeshifting abilities temporarily switch to a different role in combat. In addition to combat forms, druids can shapeshift into forms that increase movement speed while running, swimming, or flying. The ability to switch roles out of combat and temporarily perform a different role in combat makes the druid class one of the most versatile in World of Warcraft. Druids have as many phases to them as nature, self-destruction, animal fury, transformation, healing. Everything about them is rooted in cycles and transients, and the emerald dream of what Azeroth would have been with nature unfettered. Nature magic serves as the source of power for druids, as they are guardians of nature who seek to preserve balance and protect life. It is no secret that Tauren and Night Elf alike can call upon Elune's moonlight magic, or Musha, she is called in Tauren mythology. They also use solar magic, a form of nature magic practiced through the use of solar energy, the radiant energy emitted by the suns. Guardians of nature who seek to preserve balance and protect life, druids have unmatched versatility on the field of battle. This is in part because druidism is much more than a fighting discipline. It's a way of life steeped in tradition so ancient that even the origin of their kind is preserved largely in mythology passed on through millennia. Druids harness nature's raw energy for an incredible breadth of offensive and defensive abilities, as well as to restore life to the wounded. Through communion with nature and the demigods and Ares, Lord of the Forest, druids are supernaturally endowed with the gift of shape-shifting, allowing them to take the form of all manner of nature's creature and access powers as distinct as they are diverse. Druids harness the vast powers of nature to preserve balance and protect life. With experience, druids can unleash nature's raw energy against their enemies, raining celestial fury on them from a great distance, binding them with enchanted vines or ensnaring them in unrelenting cyclones. Druids can also direct this power to heal wounds and restore life to fallen allies. They are deeply in tune with the animal spirits of Azeroth. As master shapeshifter, druids can take on the forms of a variety of beasts, morphing into a bear, cat, stormcrow, or sea lion with ease. This flexibility allows them to fill different roles during their adventures, tearing enemies to shreds one minute and surveying the battlefield from the next sky the next. These keepers of the natural order are among the most versatile heroes in Azeroth, and they must be prepared to adjust new challenges on a moment's notice. Druids live in a state of unparalleled union with nature, tightly bound to the plant and animal kingdoms. They are natural shapeshifters, and so they know firsthand the abuse visited on their wild brethren. In consequence, despite their numbers, druids tend to be wary, reclusive, and difficult to spot. Few outsiders have plumbed the depths of their secrets. Druids are shapeshifters with an affinity for the plant and animal kingdoms. Druids can specialize in healing, casting spells at range, or taking the form of a cat or bear to fight in melee. Druids call upon the versatility of nature to empower themselves, assuming the forms of primal beasts, summoning celestial energy, and channeling the restorative properties of the wilds to aid their allies. The demigods and Ares originally gave guidance to and lived amongst the nomadic Yongal in the grassy plains of central Kalimdor between the 12,000 and 11,900. To them, he taught the secrets of the wilds and of the druidic magic. This later resulted in Tauren mythology telling how they, having instructed themselves of the first druids by Cenarius, thought that was only a reinterpretation of what had happened to their ancestors. With the rise of the Night Elves, a few of them learned in turn of Cenarius, and those left touched and changed, some even becoming so transformed by his teachings that they instead chose to join the demigod in the protection of his realm. Those were no longer elves, but woodland guardians physically altered forever, but of all these followers, none of them truly followed the path Cenarius had for them until Marfrey and Stormrage. The young prodigy revealed himself to be the first, with the possible aptitude and will to truly understand how to dwell the forces inherent in all nature, to become the first real mortal druid on Azeroth and to walk the Emerald Dream. Others such as Veilwalker, Faradin had dabbled in nature magic before, but without being true druids themselves. Malfurion would lead the Night Elves through the War of the Ancients in the long years that followed. With the creation of the world, Trade, Nordrassil, and the Calderat druids were bound to Yesira and her realm, the Emerald Dream, to which they spent centuries of their immortal lives. The Cenarian Circle was eventually formed as the governing society of druids based on sacred Moonglade. Locked in slumber in their barrow dens for generations, the druids awoke to meet the threat of the Burning Legion. During its recent invasion, the Legion's attack left a terrible scar on the natural order, and after Archaman's defeat, the druids chose to remain in the waking world and help rebuild the shattered lands. The Night Elf druids were recently joined in the Cenarian Circle by the Tauren druids. It is not clear from the current game content of the Tauren learned druidism separately from the Night Elves, or if they were taught by the Night Elves. Conflicting information in the Warcraft universe further exacerbates the confusion. Either way, the Tauren and the Night Elf druids do not participate in the Alliance war conflict, but coexist peacefully within the Cenarian Circle. The Gilnean druids were called Harvest Witches. Celestine also refers to her druidic order as keepers of the old ways. The Harvest Witches could use their primitive druidic skills to cultivate crops, but almost died out as Gilneans developed through when the nation fell into famine. It was the druids who, as Celestine claims, called upon the earth's blessing, restored the harvest. When Call to Rest was founded by Gilnean sailors, it is possible that some Harvest Witches brought some of their teachings, but modern culture and druids claim only the Thorn speakers of the Drustvarite Cool Hulfar is the source of their druidry, who says some of these people become part of a human society and their descendants are here. The Call of the Wild. Druids belong to many different organizations or sects, including the Cenarian Circle, Cenarian Expedition, Druids of the Claw, Druids of the Talon, Druids of the Fang, Druids of the Crow, Druids of the Antler, and Druids of the Sight. It usually takes most druids a brief time to shapeshift, and really it can be done in a few seconds. Druids generally cannot speak well in their animal forms, but there are some exceptions. For example, Gavon Shadewalker, Archdruid Gladealis, and Arthur Tradewind are able to speak while shapeshifted, and this may be possible through alternative magical means of communication similar to how Jawless undead are capable of speech. Lunar Barrage and Moonkin casting lunar spell. Druids come and go as they please, and their goals typically have little to do with the civilized world. Unaffiliated with any specific government, the primary druidic organization on Azeroth, the Cenarian Circle, answers to no one save itself. The highest rank that a druid can have is that of Archdruid, and there are only a few Archdruids on Azeroth at the moment. Of the Cenarian Circle's leader is Archdruid Malfrey and Stormrage, also the first mortal druid on Azeroth. Through their deep connection to life and nature, druids are able to take on an unusually large variety of roles. Probably a druid's best known role is that of a healer. Druids are justly famed for their ability to restore life, cure poisonous wounds, and remove curses. Indeed, restoring and protecting the planet is one of the top priorities for all druids. However, restoring life comes with a price. Even the newest druid understands that life cannot simply be created from nothing. One must ask nature to sacrifice their life essence in order to transfer that life essence to the people and plants being healed. However, to regard a druid as merely a healer is a dangerously simplistic assumption that has led to the defeat of many an unwary foe. A druid's empathy with the creatures of the wild also allows him to shapeshift into the forms of other animals. For example, a wounded druid whose magical energies are running low might abruptly take on the form of a bear in order to better withstand further injury. Alternatively, the druid might shift into the form of some large cat, sneak up behind an enemy, then bounce and deliver a fierce flurry of melee attacks. Even the deepest oceans can be explored by a druid who can simply shift into an aquatic creature, allowing him to stay underwater as long as needed. Until the end of the Third War, druids periodically visited the Emerald Dream to monitor the flow of life on Azeroth. Today, such a visit has become more difficult due to Nordrassil's poor health. Druids possess a deep understanding of the way in which all living things depend upon one another. Whenever this delicate equilibrium is disrupted, the druid works to restore the balance to that end. The druid can use his connection with the Emerald Dream to exert a calming influence over the animals, even forcing some into a temporary state of hibernation. Just as the druid can will peace and somnolence, the druid can tap into the fury of nature itself. Terrible storms responded to a druid's call. Thorns have sprouted from the druid's skin to wound his attackers. Even briefs and harmless roots have grown up out of the soil at greatly accelerated speeds in order to entangle a foe. For obvious reasons, the druids thrive in the wild outdoors. Inevitably, however, they lose some of their effectiveness when they are forced to endure separation from the natural environment. What good is a cleansing brain when a druid cannot even see the sky? How are roots to capture a foe who is standing atop a high tower? Such cases clearly require a druid with the imagination to consider new strategies and the flexibility to carry them out. Yet this flexibility too comes with an underlying negative corollary. The druid tends to be a jack of all trades, but a master in an unusual mixture of priest, rogue, and warrior. The druid is therefore not equal to any of these three classes in their particular specialties. Even so, the druid's incredible adaptability serves them well in confronting the challenges that Azeroth has to offer. Balance. Druid review, balance spell, nature starfall can take on the form of a powerful moonkin, balance in the power of arcane and nature magic to destroy enemies at a distance. Balanced druids focus on dealing ranged magical damage with an array of signature abilities such as the spell Arcane Star Surge, the Fire Starter, Sunfire, the Sonic Shockwave, Solar Beam, Druid Starfall. Balanced druids use spell nature, force of nature, moonkin form to increase their damage dealt, protect them from harm, and grant spell haste to themselves and their party, as well as granting balanced druids a distinctive Alcan appearance. Although those can be changed with glyph minor druid glyphs of stars, this form has also gained balanced druids nicknames such as Boomkin, reflecting their potential for extremely high damage output. As with the Legion expansion, balanced druids no longer primarily use mana as a resource. Instead of using their spells such as spell nature, Starfall, Moonfire, spell nature, Solar Wrath, they generate astral power, which is used to cast the ability spell Arcane Star Surge and ability Druid Starfall. The elements that carve form into the universe are fluid forces of nature. Some beings seek to bend the power of these natural elements to their will. Druids, however, worshipped the protecting spirits of nature long ago. Nature's equilibrium was thrown out of balance, leaving the world vulnerable to catastrophic events, including the first invasion of the Burning Legion. By leveraging the sacred powers of the moon, the sun and the stars, balanced druids access arcane and nature magic made more potent still through shapeshifting. When the spellcaster takes the form of the moonkin to aid in the fight against imbalance that threatens the natural order of all things. Feral druid cat form takes on the form of a great cat to deal damage with bleeds and bites. Feral druids are powerful feline melee damage dealers using ability druid cat form to deal swift and savage damage to their enemies. They have much in common with rogues, using energy to fuel their attacks and combo points to build to deadly finishing moves. Like rogues, feral druids are extremely agile, can use ability druid prowl to sneak around, and ability druid surprise attack pounce on enemies when they least expect it. Feral druids are often called cat, kitten, or kitty, these affectionate nicknames bellying their formidable ferocity. Feral druids also seek to curb and balance in nature. They observe the fantastic intricacies of the physical world and the delicate fabric in which all living creatures are given purpose, whether on land or in the sea, in a lush jungle or an uncultivated desert. Death is a part of the cycle which sustains life. Nature is an eternal dance between predator and prey. As a shapeshifter, the feral druid endlessly pursues a greater understanding of this truth. They seek a visceral connection to the wild and in combat take the form of a deadly feline predator. Feral druids become ferocious, agile stalkers, ripping, biting, and bleeding their enemies dry. The forces of chaos are tamed by the druid's primal fury. Guardian ability racial bear form takes on the form of a mighty bear to absorb damage or protect allies. Guardian druids are indomitable tanks using the strength of ability racial bear form to become a towering strong wall between themselves and their allies, similar to protection warriors. Guardian druids use rage to fuel their abilities, mauling and mangling their enemies and transforming their rage into health. The ability will rush, frenzy, regeneration. Guardian druids bear form is improved with the thick hide, allowing them to square up the most formidable of foes. Guardian druids are often known simply as bears. Like their feral brothers and sisters, guardian druids attune themselves to nature through the animal kingdom. They commune with the wild to understand how life perseveres through adversity, though they know that the creatures who survive are often those built to best protect themselves and their kin. And the guardian druid finds a deep and so harmonious value in the steadfast, all the while recognizing that sturdiness requires an aggressive stance. When danger comes near, taking the form of a great bear, the guardian druid becomes a massive wall of fur, claw, tooth, and rage, aided by the force of nature and standing between allies and any opposing threats. Restoration spell, nature healing touch, use a heal over time nature spells to keep allies alive. Restoration druids are capable healers, specializing in restoring their allies' health through the heal over time effects. Restoration druids possess a range of healing options, that from direct healing to more sophisticated buffs such as the ability druid gift of the earth mother living seed, with abilities such as ability druid nourish offering synergistic effects, and can also dispel with ability shaman cleanse spirit nature's cure. Restoration druids are capable of healing allies without the use of the special shapeshift form. Both the talent spell druid incarnation can take on the form of the tree of life. The many gifts provided by nature must sometimes be reciprocated. Restoration druids seek order in the world by tending directly to its many life forms. Friend to flora and fauna. Like restoration druids celebrate birth and growth. Where there is decay, they bring rejuvenation. Where there is abatement, they summon regrowth. Life not only needs protection, it needs nourishment to foster this harmony. The restoration druid builds a bond with the things that grow, getting inspiration from the flowers that bloom, the seeds sprout, the mushrooms, spores, and the trees grow. Like nature, the restoration druid perseveres through patience and persistence, and the foundation upon which all life is built and sustained. Uses power to mend wounds and provide persistent remedies that keep their allies from falling. For a full list of druid abilities, see druid abilities. Druids have a range of magical and physical abilities, and well, each specialization focuses on strengthening a particular area of a druid's repertoire. All druids are capable of using ability druid cat form, the ability racial bear form, dealing physical and range magical damage, healing targets, and using numerous other abilities. Solar Wrath, Prowl, Entangling Roots, Dash, Rebirth, Mark of the Wild, Cyclone, Stampede, Roar shapeshifting. The druid's most notable ability, shapeshifting in different forms. These following forms can be obtained when reaching a certain level: spell nature, moonkin form, bound specialization ability druid, cat form ability, bear form, child form, which increases speed in the form to the location where there's land, water, and flying balls. Many abilities are restricted to a certain form. Others have different forms or effects depending on the druid's form when it is used, because cat form or bear form uses energy and range respectively rather than mana. Druid abilities that use mana cannot be used by druids when they are in these forms. However, druids can quickly shift between forms to gain access to desired abilities. For all forms, the following applies: immune to spell nature, polymorph in all forms except the default humanoid form. You can't switch from polymorph to humanoid to another form. Shapeshifting breaks all movement, impairing effects like spell nature, slow or ability, shockwave, hamstring, and root spell, frost nova, our spell nature, strangle vines, and tingling roots, except the 3-second daze that can proc when one is attacked from behind by a melee attack. Depending on the form, the druid is considered either humanoid, caster, and moonkin, beast, travel, aquatic, bear, and cat, or elemental tree of life, and thus is vulnerable or immune to different spells. This also applies to being tracked. Shapeshifts are not buffs or magical effects, thus they may not be dispelled. Mana regeneration still continues at the same speed as out of the form. Weapons and armor that have the chance on hit factor of gain the set enchantments can still proc regardless of form. Items with and equipped when hit do work in form. Some examples include the Nagler Ring, Dark Moon Card, Wrath, Green Whelp, Armor, Sleep. If you shapeshift will ring into disguise your form. Buff will remove the disguise buff. This is because it has a blanket effect and can cause unexpected bugs when 2 buffs are stacked. And then Field, Elixir, and the Little Hipper friends, and the Gunner in the Winter's Rest. The druids are able to wear cloth and leather armor only and gain additional benefits from wearing completely leather. Druids can equip staves, daggers, one-handed or two-handed mace, fist weapons, and polearms held in offhand. Items can still be used, but they cannot do it well. Notes and trivia: there is a relation to the spiritual magic of shaman and the natural magic of druids, which is why shaman were able to hear the spirits of Stonetail and mountains. Druids of the Claw wear bear pelts on their backs, and their shapeshift animation depicts them pulling the pelts head over their faces. They enter bear form, while the druids of the Talon wear feathered cloaks while they sweep around themselves when they enter crow form. Similarly, during development, the writers played with the idea of having Medea's cloak be a night elf artifact that allows the wearer to turn into a raven altogether. This indicates that the original idea behind druids shapeshifting was that they turn into animals by literally putting on the enchanted skins of the creatures in question. This concept was evidently abandoned after mentioned in the game and mentioned in the World of Warcraft game manual. This presumably refers to the druids' adventures that can shift between animal shapes to replace rune masters. Druids replaced rune masters during the early developments of the game. Hearthstone has a number of different shifted forms, and the druid, as seen with the druid of the swarm, and shall shift to the Hearthstone token card, smaller pairs, costume design of the Life Weaver from Overwatch. And the druids are the keepers of the world who walk the path of nature, following the wisdom of the ancients and scenarios, healing and nurturing the world. To a druid, nature is a delicate balance of actions in which even the smallest imbalance can create storming turmoil. From peaceful skies, druids draw their power from this wild energy, using it to change their shapes and command the force of nature. Traditionally, druids chose the path of a specific animal totem. However, since the invasion of the Bring Legion, most druids have undergone a number of reforms, including encouraging the study of magic from all totems. Druids who do this are known as druids of the wild. Consulars are a specialized kind of Jedi. They focus more on cerebral force skills. There are healers or researchers or seers. A Jedi Consular was the title of one of the 3 distinct schools of thought which a member of the Jedi Order could decide to study under, following their ascension to the rank of the Jedi Knight, and the other 2 being the Jedi Guardian and Jedi Sentinel. Led by the Council of the Reconciliation, the Consulars sought diplomatic measures in spreading peace and harmony across the Galactic Republic, refraining from drawing their lightsabers except as a measure of last resort. Consulars spent a great deal of time studying the mysteries of the Force. The Consular's role in the Jedi Order had remained largely consistent throughout its history, but was written down by the Consular Jedi Seer Sabla Mandabu in the text The Jedi Path, of Manual for Students of the Force. What Jedi Guardians achieved through combat, Jedi Consulars achieved with words and non-violent use of the Force. Concentrating on mental refinement through study and meditation, Consulars sought to perfect the art of diplomacy and mediation, hoping to calm a tense situation or mend hurt feelings through civil discourse, reasoning, and parley, rather than drawing their lightsabers and cutting down an attacker. Well, Jedi Consulars would attempt to avoid conflict for as long as possible. The Consulars were sensible and carried a lightsaber, often with a green blade, to symbolize their commitment to peace. Jedi Consulars were also able to focus their Force usage against their enemies, which made it harder for opponents to resist a Consular's Force powers. Just as some Jedi Guardians had the Force potency of Consulars, many Consulars were formidable warriors. Nobi, Sunstrad, Vima, Sunrider, Yoda, Shakti, and Kit Fisto were among the best lightsaber duelists of their time, working closely with the Republic Diplomatic Corps. The greatest Consulars were afforded the seat on the Council of Reconciliation. While many served as diplomats, the Consulars were certainly not limited to the confines of the Galactic Senate. Teachers, seers, and healers all claimed alignment to the Consular's way of thinking and were all respected members of the Order. While there were many sub-branches to the Consular class, the most skilled and learned Jedi Masters were granted the honorific title of Sage Master. Specialized paths serving a vast variety of roles in the Order and within the galaxy. Large career paths available to the Jedi were many. The Jedi Ambassador, serving as a liaison between newly discovered worlds and the Republic Senate. Jedi Ambassadors were often requested by the government of foreign powers to mediate talks of membership with the galactic regime. Unlike the Jedi diplomats, the Ambassador serves solely as the face of the Republic and does not make policy or major decisions for either party. Jedi diplomat, while ambassadors of the Order merely mediated talks with the Republic and foreign states, diplomats had the intricate task of writing treaties and resolving political disputes. Extensive knowledge of intergalactic politics combined with force-imbued insight allowed diplomats to handle delicate negotiations. Healers were drawn to the specialization by the compassion for others and a desire to cure the infirm and stop the spread of disease, taking a more holistic approach to healing than the average physician. Healers used the Force to accelerate the natural healing abilities of the living flesh, led by the circle of Jedi healers. The healers drew upon the living Force to preserve life and cleanse impurities and wounds, working closely with the medical corps. The healers often worked on the battlefields of war-torn worlds, aiding in the medical treatment of soldiers. Made up of the 3 similar groups: the Jedi Archivist, Jedi Historian, and Jedi Librarian. The Lord Keepers of the Order were governed by the Librarians Assembly of the Jedi Temple and Coruscant, maintaining the Jedi Archives. The 3 groups specialized in different fields, but all worked closely in maintaining their vast collection. The Chief Librarian was the title of the Jedi Master, who presided over Jedi Archives lives. The Jedi researcher made up of many specialists serving the Order by updating the Jedi archives. Researchers filled the roles of Jedi archaeologists, mathematicians, biologists, geologists, astronomers, and hyperspatial physicists. Jedi Seers, highly tuned to the unifying force. The Seers of the Jedi Order were gifted with pre- and post-cognition, the Force granting them glimpses of things to come and things which have already transpired. Jedi prophets were a rarity amongst the Seers and were able to divine such things as the prophecy of the Chosen One. Chief of Hughes Borkara Chi was a Jedi Seer specialization during the Great Galactic War. During the Galactic War and the Cold War that followed, Jedi Consulars would choose two advanced classes. These specializations were the Jedi Sage. Jedi Sages were highly tuned to the Force, manipulating it to the extent they could rip apart foes and distort reality. The Jedi Sages were skilled in the use of the Force shield and the Force wave and were exceptional healers, diplomats, ambassadors, Seers, and telekinetic and Force combatants. The Jedi Shadows worked silently and alone, wielding double-bladed lightsabers and capable of cloaking and masking their presence in the Force. They were masters of lightsaber combat, unlike their Sage counterparts, embracing the synergy between lightsaber combat, Force mastery, and they were also masters of kinetic and physical combat. Two Sage Masters were said to have joined the two Warrior Masters in the founding of the Jedi Temple on Coruscant in 4000. These four Masters were honored with bronzium depictions on the main entrance stairs at the terminus of the processional way. Among the earliest noted Jedi Consulars were some of the founders of the Jedi Order, such as Razab Ari Turzended in the first chronicler of the Order, Garon Jard and Calabrian, millennia before Odin Ur, Chief, an archivist, librarian, and chronicler who lived for around a millennium, rose to prominence due to his mastery of battle meditation and famed wisdom. Several decades after his death, Kreia served as a Jedi Consular, and the Master was a historian and librarian. Jedi Knights, Nomi Sunrider and Chief Librarian Atris were also prominent Jedi Consulars of the era, both gaining seats on the Jedi High Council during the Great Galactic War. 3 centuries later, Satil Shan was among the most famed Jedi Consulars and wise, powerful master of battle meditation like her ancestor Bastila Shan. She eventually rediscovered Tython, birthplace of the Jedi, and the following of the Republic's defeat at the end of the decades-long Great Galactic War. She was appointed as Grand Master of the Jedi Order for her wisdom, calm, battle meditation, combat prowess, and experience. Other prominent Jedi Consulars included the healer Sion Bakarn and the Kaldor Jedi Masters and Archivist Oster Galen Osteral, Jedi Consular defends a toily child. Following the Great War under Master Sean's guidance, the Jedi Order recovered and rose to prominence once more, beginning to join the Cold War that followed the Great War, sometimes around 3643. During that time period, a notable and powerful Jedi Consular was believed to have unparalleled wisdom and insight in that entire era emerged the Barsin Thor. This Jedi saved the Jedi Order from the destruction via Dark Plague from Lord Vivicar by learning the law shielding technique to heal the affected masters who grew insane. The Jedi then tracked down Vivicar and defeated him in a duel, freeing him from the corruption of Terra. Morhod disappeared afterwards. This Jedi then became the third Barsin Thor, afterwards a title that had been in disuse for millennia because there was no Jedi who had achieved such feats at that time. When the Rift Alliance, an alliance of worlds that were powerful and had resources, land, and troops vital to the Republic, threatened to split off, the Barsin Thor was appointed as the Jedi Order's diplomat and ambassador. The Barsin Thor successfully convinced the Rift Alliance to join the Republic after helping each of the planets part of the alliance in some way. The alliance was attacked by the mysterious children of the Emperor, a series of dark-sided Force users who had been infused with the Emperor's Sith sorcery. The Barsin Thor successfully shielded the alliance and with its help founded the more powerful army for the Republic. The Barsin Thor met with a hollow voice, leader of the Eshka, who agreed to join and support the Republic with his army. The Barsin Thor also gained support from the Voss after saving their homeworld and the native species there with an army of Eshka led by Hollow Voice and an army of Voss commandos and mystics, powerful seers and healers. The Barsin Thor engaged the children of the Sith Emperor. The Barsin Thor learned that the children were shielded by the first son, the most powerful child of the Emperor, who was much to the Barsin Thor's dismay. In fact, Sion Bakarn, after rooting out the children of the Sith Emperor and defeating the redeeming of the first son, the Barsin Thor gained the vacant seat on the Jedi Council, and that was once sat on by Sion Bakarn. Following the Cold War was a period of silence until the Darth Deathless conflict, although there were no Jedi Consulars in this time during the new Sith Wars. The Jedi Master War Dawmat was a noted and exceptional Jedi Consular, as was Chief Librarian Barra Dronaban, the Grand Master of the Sith Wars. Faye Coven was also a Jedi Consular a millennium later. Grand Master Yoda was arguably the most notable and powerful Jedi Consular in Galactic history. Other prominent Jedi Consulars during this period were Luminara Undali, Gimfisto Shakti, and Barasafi. The use of the term Jedi Consular was originally the Jedi Consular was never displayed to be more proficient in the use of the Force, nor did they use the Force as a direct weapon in any manner, nor also practiced by the Jedi. The Jedi Consular was instead known to be Jedi skilled in methods of diplomacy and instruction. Jedi Consulars who fell to the dark side still really fought in the physical combat. Dark Jedi Consulars or Sith Lords as a prestige class used the Force to crush their enemies as opposed to using lightsabers. The Jedi Consular is a playable class in the Jedi Knight, and the two Force using classes align with the Galactic Roll. The Jedi Consular class focuses on the use of the two double-bladed lightsaber and stealth or healing and range Force powers such as telekinesis. The advanced class for the Jedi Consular, the Jedi Sage, and the Jedi Shadow. The Imperial alternative for the Jedi Consular is the Sith Inquisitor. The Jedi Knight referred to the member of the Jedi Order who had completed their Jedi training as a student in the Jedi Academy. In addition to one-on-one training as a Padawan and the completion of the Jedi trials as a Knight and the full member of the Order, these individuals received assignments from the Jedi councils and strove to find peace and maintain order within the Galactic Republic, making up the majority of the Order's members. The public was familiar with this title more than any other, and thus many addressed any Jedi as Knight. For 100 generations, the Jedi fought to protect the Republic. 730 years after the Order's founding on Tython in the early stages of galactic civilization, the Jedi Knights were brought into the Galactic Republic, working as peacekeepers for the fledgling government, a loose band of both philosophers and warriors. These early knights had no central leadership nor any formalized training at any academy. Instead, they completed a series of tasks set by the Master, who would then bestow upon them the rank of a Jedi Knight. And the Order grew more centralized with the foundation of the Jedi High Council following the Great Sith War and the Republic's donation of the Sacred Spire on Coruscant for use by the Knights residing at the capital. The role of Knights in the Republic became more defined, working as peacekeepers, diplomats, and investigators during East peacetime. The Knights helped to establish peace following the war. However, due to the High Council's seemingly complacent attitude during the Mandalorian Wars, many Knights turned away from the Order and joined the revanchist movement, which would eventually lead to the Jedi Civil War. When the Order recovered the training of Padawans to knighthood, would resume more formally until the New Sith Wars and the creation of the Army of the Light, forced the Order to once again take on a militaristic way of life. When the Brotherhood of Darkness was defeated and the Rusan Reformation put into effect, formal training began, and the Order flourished. As the Sith returned, and the Clone Wars swept across the Republic, galactic Jedi Knights became Jedi Generals and were required to lead the Grand Army of the Republic on the front lines against the Confederacy of Independent Systems. However, the Order was betrayed by the Supreme Counselor, whom they served, who was in reality the Dark Lord of the Sith, Darth Sidious. Sidious used his position as Supreme Commander Palpatine to issue Executive Order 66, which demanded the slaughter of all Jedi and began the second major Jedi purge. Loyal to the Republic, the troopers of the Grand Army cut down their generals without hesitation, while the 501st Legion, under the command of a fallen Jedi Knight, Darth Vader, stormed the Jedi Temple on Coruscant and slaughtered the instructors and initiates stationed there. Well, there were several knights that survived the initial wave of what became known as the Great Jedi Purge. Vader, the newly anointed Sith Lord, took personal charge of hunting down those Jedi who had escaped to the Outer Rim. Eventually, during the Battle of Endor, Anakin Skywalker left the dark side, conquered Darth Vader from within, and then saved his son Luke by destroying Palpatine to bring balance to the Force and fulfilling an ancient Jedi prophecy. After several decades of hiding and near extinction, the Order was reformed under Luke Skywalker, who, after the Galactic Civil War ended, established a new Jedi praxis on Yavin 4 and began using the basic skills taught to him by the former Grand Master Yoda to train the next generation of knights. For a time, knighting was much less formal as it had been in the past during times of rebuilding, but eventually Skywalker led the Order to flourish and adapted many of the old Order's customs on knighthood. Confer on you the level of the Jedi Knight, the Council does. Grandmaster Yoda, the Obi-Wan Kenobi. Following the successful completion of a decade or more of one-on-one instruction from a master, Jedi Padawans were expected to pass the Jedi trials and be raised to the rank of Knight. Only the High Council could promote a Padawan to the rank of Knight, though this rule was not always observed, especially in times when the Order was spread extremely thin, or the Council could not be contacted for a great period of time. For those Jedi who did join this elite group of individuals, they were no longer attached to their master and were in charge of their own destiny. Knights were expected to continue their study in the Force, choosing between one or three fields of specialization so as to hone their personal strengths and into the swords and shields of the Order, either becoming a Guardian, Consular, or a Sentinel. The Knights would adopt and accept solo missions from one of the four Jedi Councils that made best use of their skill sets. On their own, Knights were responsible for maintaining the Order's public appearance as they traveled throughout the galaxy, floating along the currents of the Force as they sought to provide justice to suffering worlds. Taking on their own path of study, Knights learned the third and final discipline of the Force known as Alter, which allowed the user to manipulate objects and others' minds with the application of the Force. Following the mastery of Alter, the Alter discipline, and the completion of the study on specialized skills, the Knight might find themselves desiring to teach the next generation of Jedi. While not a mandatory practice, Knights could attend tournaments at the temple to see potential Padawans exhibit their skills with the Force and a lightsaber. The Jedi of old warned against taking on an apprentice strictly out of duty, for this might ultimately lead to an irreconcilable incompatibility of Jedi and apprentice, leaving a Padawan without the proper guidance to gain a sufficient knowledge of the Force and Jedi Order skill sets in order to be successful during the trials. Deeply focused meditation was performed before a selection was made. While many ancient Knights did choose to take on the sacred responsibility, there were a few that were unable to find a trainee who they felt would be the right fit or had no desire to take on such an all-encompassing commitment. Following successfully training a Padawan to knighthood, the High Council would consider raising the Knight to the rank of Jedi Master, though this was not always the case. Many Knights just simply were not promoted. The Master of the Council did not feel that they had attained a knowledge of the Force that warranted the bestowment of such a title, or if the Force willed some other destiny for them, while some were promoted in old age. Some Knights never ascended in rank because of the nature of the title and of the importance of the Council. Only Masters were selected to the Councils on occasion, and a Knight would sit on the Council in the transition period between Ascension and rank. Though this was a simple technicality, the most unusual case was that of Knight Anakin Skywalker's appointment to the High Council by Supreme Consular Palpatine during the Clone Wars. While the Council reluctantly accepted the appointment, they refused to raise Skywalker in ranks, maintaining their stance that he had not mastered his emotions entirely. When the Order was disbanded during the reign of the Galactic Empire, no Knights were promoted, as the majority of the Order had been slaughtered. It wasn't until Luke Skywalker rebuilt the Order that the term Knight was reused. Due to the informality of the Order in its early years, many of the old traditions were not observed simply out of ignorance to their existence. Rudimentary trials were established at the Yavin 4 Jedi practicing without knowledge of the Order's traditional tasks. These included demonstrations of the mastery of a set of skills and the ability to construct a lightsaber. Skywalker's inaugural class graduated in 12 and were dispatched out into the galaxy to assist in the Republic and its endeavors to drive the Empire from civilized space. As more apprentices were taken, their masters would consult with Master Skywalker and could be granted permission to bestow without rank of knighthood following a successful mission that proved one's mettle. Such was the case of Jaden Core, whose master, Gal-Katron, thought that his success on Vizsla proved he had taught all Core needed to know. The first recorded public knighting ceremony was in 1224, maybe why when Master Skywalker knighted Anakin Solo, Jason Solo, Jaina Solo, Zek Tenelka, Lusa, Raynar, Thula, and Lobaka for their year of service and aiding in the defeat of the Diversity Alliance, and Black Sun held to the Great Temple in front of the entirety of the Order and representatives of the Republic. The ceremony consisted of a lightsaber salute and a ballad by Master Tion Salusar. Several years later, following the Yuzambong War and the procurement of several important holocrons and documents, formal knighting ceremonies likened to that of the Old Order were reincorporated into the way of the Jedi, with the Coruscant Temple rebuilt. Ceremonies were once more held here in the Hall of the Knighthood. The Jedi Knights were first mentioned in the novelization of A New Hope, books written by Alan Dean Foster and published in 1976. The Jedi Knight was also a class in the Star Wars MMO, and the class is further customizable by selecting either the Sentinel or Guardian Advanced class. The Jedi Knights commonly appear in the fan film plots, including in the famous Star Wars Renaissance, which includes several fan canon knights, and compared to the Jedi Knights of the various real religious and spiritual orders, citing Christian or Buddhist monks and priests, and the Knights Templar. The making of Star Wars reveals that the Jedi were at one point named the Jedi Templar, indicating that its specific order may have been an influence. Visit the Coast Rhino League for the Star Wars trading card game called Jedi Knights, a wordplay on the Jedi Knights.
Lore Master.